What's up, Facebook? Hey, it's JP. I got a very, very special guest in tonight. Tonight. Right, night is night. We're going to be ready to rock and roll. We're going to be talking about stress and mental illness, some tips, and getting ready to go here. That's my little intro music, so the WVON listeners know. Oh, it's about to be on. Time.
Intro.
Yeah.
This sound the pit.
Oh yeah, man.
Morris Day.
Ooh, Jay. Forgot all about this part. I mean, after we start,
Yeah.
Oh, we can do it now. As a matter
You
of
want to
fact.
do that?
Yep. Let me get it on the camera. Hey. Don't allow it. Okay. Thanks, man.
Yep.
So we're just gonna act like we're talking, okay, James? So, James, tell me a little bit about yourself. We're just doing a promo real quick, a video promo. So, tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, my name is James Stevens. I'm a licensed clinical professional counselor. I'm the CEO and clinical director of North Star Clinical Therapy.
Perfect.
And
Yeah, good volume. Thank you, sir.
no problem.
All right. I think we're ready. Oops. Perfect as usual, man.
Good?
Yep.
All right.
79311.
You can hear you.
Huh?
It'll be easier to
Yeah,
hear
yeah.
with the headphones off. I'm like, okay.
Okay, I think you wait for the thumbs up. Okay, headphones on. WVON. I need my own microphone. WVON family, good evening. It is April 27th. You know when you hear the time, it's time. If you slap my face, hey, what's the bone? All right, WVON. Thank you, Jay. Jay, the engineer extraordinaire. I love it. So, hey, ladies and gentlemen, thank you, WVON family. Great to be with you again. Feel like it's been a whole week. It has been a whole week. That's right. Feel like it's been a whole week, and I'm getting some things set up right here real quick, and in a hurry. Display. Auto lock. Never. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have an incredible show this evening. I have first of all, hello. I want to make sure I say hello to everyone, and I hope everyone is having a great week so far. I hope everyone has good plans for this weekend. We got a lot going on the show tonight, and with a very, very special guest. April is Stress Mental Awareness Month. Correct? Almost. My guess is like almost. All right, but it's mental health stress awareness month, and we already know that stress is a major hypertension is a major killer amongst people, and especially amongst the African American community. And we're gonna dive right into it because this is so very serious, and I'm so glad that my guest is on, and I'm going to let him introduce himself. But I'm going to give you the number 773-591-1690. 773-591-1690. That is the phone number to call in if you have a question for our guest, because we're going to jump into mental health. We're going to jump into some drop some tips. I'm all over the place. I'm just excited for tonight. All right, we're about to get this thing going. All right. What's up, D-Roy Callens? My man. He's all the way out on the East Coast. I appreciate you, brother. I really do, man. Let's hop right in here real quick with my guest. First of all, there we go, right quick. Make sure all my cameras on and everything. James, I know your name. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Absolutely. Well, first, I want to say thank you for having me on.
Absolutely.
Brother Parker, it's an honor and a pleasure. And hello and good evening to the VON family. My name is James Stevens. I'm a licensed clinical professional counselor. I'm also the CEO and clinical director of North Star Clinical Therapy. And as James was just mentioning, the month of April is what's known as Stress Awareness Month. Now, this is leading into the month of May, which is the Global Mental Health Awareness Month.
Gotcha.
So that's what we're going to be diving into and talking a lot about this evening.
I love it. I love it. So, James, share with us a little bit about the work you do and your private practice at North Star Clinical Therapy.
Sure. I've been actually in the industry of counseling and therapy for probably about 25 years.
Okay.
I first got my clinical license with the state of Illinois back in 2003. So you kind of do the math on that.
Sure, absolutely.
20
years, yeah,
at least, right? So I've worked in a variety of mental health areas, everything from hospital settings to adult community mental health, social service agencies, foster care. I've done just about anything and everything in mental health. Worked in, of course, Cook County, Grundy County, Will County. I've been all over. Started doing group private practice about 15 years ago.
Okay.
And was part of different practices coming up, and began to start to see the need for more African American owned counseling practices. Okay, and that's where kind of North Star Clinical Therapy was birthed from. So we are a person-centered, trauma-informed, and trauma-focused, comprehensive mental health counseling and therapeutic practice. All right, we serve children, adolescents, adults, families, and couples. And we really specialize in a wide variety of mental health issues. So everything from mood disorders, which would include anxiety and depression and bipolar disorder, and even other anxiety-related disorders or issues. We do a lot of work in the area of addiction and substance abuse. We help adults and teens with attention deficit and hyperactivity disorder. We do a lot of work with families and couples counseling, life coaching, career counseling. We also do a lot of work in the area like financial counseling. We're licensed in the area of financial services as well. So when we talk about a comprehensive practice, that's what we kind of aim for. We want to be able to help the whole person in every area that they may have need for service.
Interesting. So, and you started this really as a means to help the African American community, if you will.
Absolutely. We see, and we'll probably get into this. So there's so much of an underserving in mental health services in our community in particular, and there's some specific reasons for that. And so we want to be able to break up that barrier and allow for greater access, right? And I'm sure that you and the community have been able to see that coming out of the pandemic, there's been like this flood of service providers, right? So you've been seeing commercials probably for the first time ever.
Yeah. Right, never seen. I was like, whoa.
Right. So we're seeing commercials for mental health counseling for therapists. You can do it online. You can do it via Zoom. You can do it virtually. You can do it in office, right? And so I think the pandemic allowed there to be this doorway for now more awareness and maybe even greater, James, more acceptability with individuals saying, hey, it's okay for me to need the help of a therapist or a counselor or someone in that particular profession to help me get through what I'm going through.
Yeah, and I think especially, I mean, I know my middle son, smart as all get out in college, when COVID hit and he had to go online, he did not do well. He just didn't. And this is a kid who could play a video game for 25 hours straight, you know what I mean? But sitting there learning, I remember he was like, Dad, it's literally like watching a boring YouTube for 8 hours, and he just didn't adjust well. And you would see the news where families were like, where their kids were strong kids, but when COVID hit and everything was shut down and they felt shut out, trying to commit suicide. And they were like, they've never exhibited that before, but people handle stress and things differently. Are you seeing things like that where right out of the pandemic, people were coming out, like I said, the news with commercials and things like that for all kinds of different kinds of stress?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that we began to see in particular, definitely a need for both children and adolescents to receive services, right? That shelter in place, it just does something. It gives something to us, what I mean? And so we have so many children kind of coming out of that, feeling anxiety, feeling depression. Now there's some other components to that, because as we stayed at home more, well, what else happened was that our children, our teenagers got more consumed in social media. You know what I mean? And so that plays a part more in Facebook and everything TikTok and
Sure.
we can go on and on and on with that. But what that also does is that it creates like these challenges in areas of emotion and kind of mental health and we start to see it. You know what I mean?
Sure.
As you did with your son, right? Here's another thing that we saw. We saw a lot of challenges coming out of the post-pandemic family couples. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I don't have the stats on this, but the divorce rate shot up during the pandemic. Brother.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
I didn't know that. That's incredible.
Well, you kind of think so many, and we can get into this as well.
Sure.
But there's so many of our families and our couples that may even attempt to set up their lives in such a way that I ain't got to be around you that long.
Right. Because you got to work. Got to go to work.
You're going to work this shift.
Yeah.
I'm going to work this shift. We're going to come together. We're going to take care of these kids, take care of this house. But what happened during the pandemic? Not so much.
Right.
I am in front of you. You are in front of me. I don't like what you're watching. What are you doing? Why are you still in the house? Right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I didn't think about that.
So what that kind of intensity does, it places sometimes a higher emphasis on some of the relational issues that couples and families were already experiencing. It's not like we just threw kerosene on it.
Yeah.
And just lit a match to those challenges. So, we saw that a lot. We also saw individuals having challenges with, depression and anxiety coming out of career changes.
Wow.
Right. Think about, the changes that individuals have to go through with employment and career and jobs and then attempting to create their own career. Right. We had an explosion in new business owners and self-employment. Well, along with that comes tremendous amount of stress, anxiety, pressure to perform, pressure to provide, etc. So,
wow, man, we're gonna get it. Man, we're 773-591-1690. 773-591-1690. We're gonna take questions here in a little bit. James, now the name North Star. Tell me more about that unique name. Why North Star?
Well, so that phrase North Star, for people that would remember the wise men attempting to find the Christ Jesus. Well, they use that North Star as a point of direction.
Okay.
So the North Star is the brightest star in the northern hemisphere.
Okay.
It's able to be seen at night by the naked eye. So we kind of took that format, we kind of took that idea and said that what our aim is, what our goal is for North Star Clinical Therapy to be, if you will, this beacon of hope and inspiration and direction. What we want to be able to do is have the opportunity to help somebody be able to have their life's pathway literally illuminated.
Oh, wow.
See, if you can see your way, that gives like this piece of motivation.
Sure.
I can move on a little bit further. I can take my next step, or I can figure some things out. I truly believe that there's no worse emotional place to be in than a place of darkness and confusion. So what does the North Star do? We're gonna fight.
I love that.
Okay.
I love that.
So that's what our practice hopes to do with people.
I love that. Okay, man, wow. That's when you know that a business has put thought into their name, right? I mean, that means something because, when we looked at our son, we flew our son back home. He was in Florida. We said, well, you're coming home. I saw one episode of Nightly News with Lester Holt and families talking about their kids were doing, and like you said, that trauma, that depression, that their lives were upended. I was like, my son was on the next flight back to Chicago. You know what I'm saying? Sure. And I said, you're here. Oh, we'll pay. Don't worry about that. We're going to keep paying that rent, but you will be home to make sure, right? Because
we're going to figure it out.
We're going to figure it out together, right? Yeah. And so, man, I can't wait to get calls. Start taking calls. Now, you mentioned this earlier. I understand that the month of May is Mental Health Awareness Month. What are some of the pertinent issues regarding mental health awareness in our community?
Well, I mean, there's several areas that this can go into. I'm going to try to tie them up into two kind of major constructs.
Okay.
So the first one being, let's call it acceptability.
Okay.
And the other one would be accessibility. So acceptability, right? We first deal with being able to acknowledge that, hey, I have a challenge. I'm having some problems here. Okay. It's that acknowledgement to being able to say it's okay with not being okay.
Yeah.
All right. Now, to be able to do that, to be able to have that level of acknowledgement, I got to be able to really get connected to the things that I may be struggling with. So whether these areas are maybe mental, meaning the way that I'm thinking, the way that I see myself, I see the world, whether they're emotional, how I'm managing my feelings and those sorts of things, whether I'm struggling in the area of life decision making, whether I'm struggling in my relationships, all of these different things. Well, the first thing I got to be able to do is to acknowledge that I'm having this sort of challenge. Now, that in and of itself can be challenging for all people, but I think in particular for the Black community. It's tough for us to say, hey, I need some help. And the reason why is that we have been conditioned to try to figure it out on our own, right? You think about the families being raised and reared by single African American women. They've had to figure it out on their own. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And in many cases, unfortunately, many of our men that are, working to make a living wage, trying to make ends meet, the pressures and stresses that go along with that. Again, that sort of feeling that if it's to be, it's up to me.
Yeah.
And there can be some challenges with that ideology that puts all the pressure, all the stress, all the strain solely on your shoulders. And so when I'm kind of feeling that way, or if I'm having that experience, how can I raise my hand to possibly say, I need some help?
Yeah.
Or this is tough, or I'm struggling, or I'm traumatized by my experience that I've gone through. You know what I mean? And so that level of acceptance is first. The vulnerability part, I bring this up. In order to be able to allow help to come in, to be, to be able to receive someone else's care and their love and their guidance and their direction, the first thing I got to do, James, I gotta put my guard down. That's what being vulnerable is. Okay, I got to be able to take my hands up from in front of my face, and I got to put them down. I got to unball my fists so that I can let something else in that can be potentially beneficial for me. Now, again, that area of vulnerability might go so much against how I have been brought up or how I've been reared to fight. I've been reared to protect myself, to guard myself. Because you know what? You might be out to get me.
Yeah.
So therefore, I can't trust you. I can't look to somebody else for help. Okay, and we can go into areas of trauma with that because that speaks to those initial relationships that we had with our parents that made it went awry that now causes distrust and all kind of areas there. But anyway, that area of being vulnerable, right? So I have to acknowledge that it's okay for me not to be okay. I need help. Now I got to be vulnerable enough to be able to receive the care, receive the help from another person or another entity or support system. Okay, and then next, I got to figure out, well, where the heck can I go to get some help? Is the help actually
there?
Is it there? Is it accessible to me?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And there are, many barriers to accessibility with mental health services. Okay, one of those barriers being like economic and financial issues. Okay, so it's not unheard of that sometimes counseling and therapy can be a costly item. All right, and so 11% of African Americans reported they have no health insurance at all. So that takes them out the loop, right? Okay. Others that do have health insurance that may cover certain services, it may have limitations to it. Okay. So if I'm receiving, let's say, Medicaid, or if I'm receiving some type of limited HMO program through my employer, it may not cover certain services that allow me to get, let's say, more elevated mental health resources, available to me. So now what happens is I may have to deal with sometimes agencies or groups where now I might be meeting with an intern.
Yeah.
I might be meeting with somebody that is still in their graduate study, if you will. You know what I'm saying? Maybe not James Stevens, a 25-year professional that's clinically licensed in 2000. You know what I mean?
Right.
I may not be able to afford James.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
And so that becomes a barrier. Another barrier is the lack of diversity in mental health providing. Okay, again, it's not, this is not a secret that mental health counselors and therapists, the majority, are Caucasian female. Okay, yeah. If I'm a person of color, from the Black or brown community, and now I've gotten through the acknowledgement stage.
Yeah.
I've gotten through the vulnerability stage. Okay, James, I hear you. I'm gonna try to access some services.
Right.
And now I go into ABC clinic and don't nobody in here look like me.
Right.
Like not even a gender.
Yeah. Not even a gender, right.
So they don't look like me. They're not the same gender as me. Maybe I saw the janitor. What's up, bro? How you doing?
Right.
Okay, you know what I mean? So
right.
that becomes a bit of a barrier. And so what we've seen though over the last 15, 20 years is that there have been changes with that. African American women are doing wonderful work in the area of mental health counseling and therapy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's not a whole lot of African American men. We are a little bit more of a unicorn. Okay. But so that part is getting better. But again, that diversity is still a challenge. Okay. Another barrier is stigma. So we can talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I love
the stigma with like mental health. And then just that last area, you can't, discount just that natural distrust with the medical system.
I love that. Chantel, you were on hold. Please call back. We'd love to know what your thoughts while we're talking with James Stevens, CEO of North Star Clinical Therapy, PLLC, here in Chicago, correct, sir?
Yes, sir.
In Chicago. So Chantel, if you can call back, that'd be great. When you mentioned my daughter went to school for psychology. She has her master's, and she was actually looking to get her PhD down in Dallas.
Okay.
And then kind of decided she wanted to open up her own practice. And but COVID, dealing with individuals who were dealing with trauma, dealing with in St. Louis, kind of, some of the oops, my microphone or my headphone there. Some of the people clients that she was dealing with, she saw that, and she's only a little 5 foot nothing.
Sure.
And she's dealing with guys that are taller than her, bigger than her, and capable of controlling themselves, right? And it kind of, made her very, very nervous.
Yeah,
it did, and wasn't getting any support from her boss or superiors, and so she now is like, you know what, Dad, I'm just going to develop an app and do it that way. And I have a very good friend, Chantel, and Chandel, I didn't realize that I'm going to bring her on. I'm going to try and see if she can call in. She's on the East Coast. She has an app that actually deals with the mental illness for young people. Chandel, I'm messing up her own name right now, Chantel. I'm going to reach out to her when we take our first break here. But if Chantel, you were on hold, we thank you very much. Please call back if you could. If you have any questions for Mr. Stevens, for James, about anything maybe you were going through, or your family's going through, or something like that, your youth, your teen, or your mother, your father, definitely 773-591-1690, 773-591-1690. James, you mentioned the barrier what I found. Oh, there she is right there. Go ahead, Chantel, girl. All right, Chantel, you're on the 1921 radio show on WVON with James Stevens and James Parker. Go ahead with your comment. All right, go right ahead. You may have to turn your radio down. I don't know if it's up loud, but if you can turn it down, that'd be great. But no, it's okay. It's okay. Thank you for listening, and thank you for calling. Wow. Now, how old are your children? 12, 10, and 6, and they lost their father. Okay. Yeah, that's how are you holding up, sister? Okay. Okay. That's half the battle right there, right?
Absolutely.
That's half the battle right there. James, you want to go ahead? Thank you so much, Chantel, for your call.
Yeah, thanks for the call, Chantel. One of the first things that come to mind when I'm hearing you kind of talk about that experience, the three boys losing a father, first thing I'm thinking about is your own personal mental health being as much as a priority as the boy.
Mhm.
Okay, you as the mother, the one that is raising and taking care of them, how you are caring for yourself has to be of utmost priority. So if that means you seeking out, counseling services, making sure that you have a good match with somebody that is helping you through the different processes of being a single parent, taking care of your boys, all the challenges that go along with that, whether it's financial, housing, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That's got to be just as much of a priority. You have to make sure that you're okay before you can be okay for them. That would be the first thing.
Okay.
The second thing that I would be thinking about is just making sure that those young men have the best level of accessible medical services possible. You know what I mean? And that can sometimes be a bit of a question mark. Okay, and the reason why I'm bringing that up like that is because depending on sometimes the unique situations or the unique challenges, uh, sometimes there's a requirement or a need to be able to seek out more specialized services to make
Mm.
sure that these special needs are being met in the way that's going to more comprehensively help uh, these young men. You know what I mean? And so that's something maybe for the mothers to be able to evaluate. How
Mhm.
well is the care? How where are the services? Yes, they have a therapist or a counselor assigned, but how's that process actually going? What's happening with behaviors? What's happening with emotional stability, etc. So those are the two things that come to mind for me right
What are some things that now would you because I appreciate her calling in and just the vulnerability
now. Mm-hmm.
with that, and I know it's something we talk about. Is that something where would she need to? Would you say that each child individually um, would need? I don't know. I know she's trying to get them the therapy, or would it be like a group session? Like, and I'm pretty sure we'll get into this later on how someone can get in touch with you and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
in a session like that. What would that look like?
I mean, just off the top, not knowing a lot of the details
Sure.
of that experience, but just in my experience, I really would think that each person needs their own counselor. They
Okay.
they need that own their own safe uh, place and safe individual to be able to unload their
Okay.
own issues, challenges, thoughts, feelings, emotions. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And then we're talking about three individual counselors that specialize in working with children.
Wow.
Then we have the mother that has her own individual counselor.
Hmm.
Sounds like
Hmm.
a lot of folks, don't it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then we need somebody to work with the family unit,
Hmm.
right? Because yeah, we have our own individual and personal stuff, right? But there are family systems and structures that sometimes need to be addressed
Hmm.
and healed and worked on. And that needs to be done in a family environment. So
Okay.
we're talking about essentially maybe, four
Sure.
providers there.
Sure.
You know what I mean? To be able to really get a good comprehensive, working, network with the family there.
I love that, and I hope Chantel calls back. Oh, good. Chantel, you know what? I'm gonna give you a phone number. Text. We need. I think I need to get Chantel a spa day somewhere. Chantel, we're gonna get you a spa date, okay, girl? We're gonna first make sure you get a massage, your nails done. I'm not saying you don't need them done. I said I know sometimes just sitting in the chair. I know when I get my hair cut, man, it's therapy. I don't have a lot of hair, so it goes by rather quickly.
Same here, right?
My little therapy session goes by real quick. But Chantel, we're gonna get you a 30-minute, maybe an hour. We're gonna find a massage therapist for you. Get you some time. Text me at 312-841-3254. 312-841-3254. Okay, sister? 312-841-3254. You text me, and excuse me, I'm gonna make sure my team, we're gonna get you a massage somewhere, get you a relaxation time, so we can at least get you a little bit of that. I'm not saying you haven't had it. I'm not saying you even want it, but we're gonna get you something, and then I'm gonna talk to James afterwards. we're going to see what we can do. Okay. I know a lot of people. We're going to see what we can work out so we can help you and your children deal with this traumatic experience that not only you, but your children. And again, I applaud you for your vulnerability and calling. And I don't want anyone just to call this show and then nothing happens. Okay. So please, Chantel, if you're still listening, 312-841-3254. Nobody call up here claiming to be Chantel. Okay. All right.
You about to get
I'm Chantel.
I'm Chantel. I need to know Chantel thing. I need
I know, right? Do not do that. This is for Chantel. Okay. All right. We have another caller. It looks like June. Hi, June. This is you're on the 1921 radio show with James Stevens, our guest. Doing great. How are you?
How you doing, June?
Mm-hmm. Mm. Mm.
That's good.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Wow. Yeah. June, that's I mean, what courage really and what strength to be able to come on a radio program and not only announce to the world, but announce for yourself that, hey, I'm having a challenge in this area. That's exactly what we're talking about with that, acknowledgement and that vulnerability. Brother, really proud of you for that. And that's really the first step. What you're doing right now, raising your hand and saying, listen, I've done all of this. I've raised kids. I've worked. I've done all of these wonderful things. But yet, this has been a challenge in my life and a problem for me. And just to give everybody perspective, addictions really kind of work that way. You know what I mean? Sometimes when we think about addictions, we think about, the homeless person that's disheveled, that's begging for money and, drinking and using, hardcore drugs. But, we can become addicted to so many different things. Gambling is one of those quiet ones as well. Because nobody has the t-shirt on that says, I gamble a whole lot at the casino,
right,
or I play too much lottery, or I do, you know what I mean? So, and so there are recovery programs and therapies, Brother Jim, that is specialized and designed to deal with that addictive behavior of gambling. Just like if somebody was attempting to receive treatment for substance abuse or alcohol abuse.
Wow.
Okay. So, yeah, we got some resources. We can definitely get you connected to this great self-help supportive networks like Gamblers Anonymous that work a 12-step recovery program with gambling. Great resource there. And then, of course, working with, a licensed professional that can really dig into the thoughts and the patterns that have facilitated the behaviors and then working around that and help you get some freedom and some pleasure, brother.
And I think you hit it on the head, that freedom, right?
Mm-hmm.
The freedom and thank you very much, brother, for calling in. And as James said, James number 2, because I'm James 2. I'm James 1 or whatever we got. The vulnerability, again, one of the things you talked about is that barrier, that vulnerability of, hey, I have a problem or I need to deal with this, right? And I appreciate him calling in. And I think that's just like the first step, if you like you said, is not just admitting it, but acknowledging it, you know what I mean? And really looking at it in that regards, right? And real quick before we go on, because I know we're going to get some more calls, how can people get in touch with you, or how can people find out about your services?
Well, absolutely. Well, so we can start with the website. The website is www.northstarclinicaltherapy.com, just like the name, northstarclinicaltherapy.com. Our phone number is 1-877-944-2287. Again, 877-944-2287. So you can give that phone number a call. You can leave a message. You can provide details. We're going to get back to you, get you connected. We go through an evaluation process, of course, and an assessment, identify what sorts of services will be the most appropriate. And even if we're not able to provide the services, we're not going to leave you out there. We're going to get you connected, get you with some linkage with other service providers, and we're going to stay connected with you until those services are completely in place and you're feeling comfortable with where you're at. We got the website, of course. We've got Facebook, North Star Clinical Therapy on Facebook, and you can follow us on Instagram at North Star Clinical Therapy.
I love that. And we're going to give that out again, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to give that out again because we're going to come up on it. We have to take a break here in about 3 or 4 minutes, and then we're going to come back on the 10 o'clock hour and continue this. Because in 773-591-1690, 773-591-1690, we're going to go over some things that we can possibly do if we can't see someone right away. What are some things, James, I'd like to go over? What are some things and some tips that we can give people where they can start doing some things at home, right? Kind of some self things like that. I know one of the things that I do, I call someone, a couple of things. I'll call someone. I'm an entrepreneur as well. And so I have a network of entrepreneurs. And you'd be surprised. Someone will call and say, hey, man, James, I know you're going, man. I know you're going 100 miles an hour. I know you're working. I just need to talk to somebody about whatever. And little do they know, that's therapy for me as well. Because we both can vent, right? We both can get it out,
You needed to talk about the same thing, probably.
Exactly, yeah. And it was just crazy that they happened to call. One of my good friends is Ted Williams, who's an incredible actor, person, Christian, a man, and just that we'll talk because we're both going 100 miles an hour, both with families, and sometimes we'll talk, man, and that therapy, is there, and I think. But when you look back, it goes back to what? We got our guards up depending on how we were raised or whatever. So maybe a lot of people don't have a lot of friends, right? And so maybe there's this thing where it's like you may feel like I don't have anyone to talk to, And so imagine being in a situation where you've got these feelings, you have these emotions. Excuse me. Your insurance may not cover, or like you said, there are millions who don't even have insurance, right? And then on top of that, you don't have anyone to talk to.
And you're just out there.
Yeah.
And when we come back from break, we're going to touch upon the impact of trauma.
Okay.
In that relationship building. Okay. And how that hits 3 major areas of us.
Yeah.
As people.
Okay.
And so I think the audience is going to benefit from being able to hear a little bit about that.
Okay.
And then we're going to talk about some things that we can do until we can get to the help we need.
Yep. All right. 773-591-1690. 773-591-1690. My guest tonight is James Stephenson. Stevens. I'm sorry, man. I'm just adding all kind of letters to your name.
All the time, man. I've been called James Stevenson, Steverson. A good friend of mine calls me sometimes. So yeah.
All right. We got Brother James here, CEO of North Star Clinical Therapy. We'll be back right after this break. Oh, yeah. Okay. We'll be back right after this break. Got to pay some bills. Okay, good. Make sure the commercials were coming on. So, man, wow.
Yeah. How about that, man?
That sister said that. Man.
She's so sweet. I know her personally.
Oh, you do?
Yeah,
oh, okay.
Man. I knew she was going to call. She did tell me, I'm going to call Michelle. But that is a real experience.
What is that?
I said that is a real experience.
Wow.
Yeah, with the husband passed away, and 3 kids. Very traumatic.
Wow, man. Yeah, man. I've been very fortunate, man. I mean, to have a number of people. But for me, you know, like someone I saw this TikTok and it said that men they just figured it out. And they're like, hey ladies, when he's quiet or whatever, he's trying to figure it out. He's not trying to ignore you. He's trying to figure things out.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And
and there's a lot of validity to that can sometimes be a blessing and a curse.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because sometimes some of the most dangerous conversations that we have with ourselves.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And what we really need to be able to do is have some platforms to be able to get those thoughts out to the person. Because sometimes we can't think ourselves out of ourselves. Yeah. Right. And that's what we do with men a lot. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, let me just, all I got to do, I got to go to the lab, figure it out, think about it, process it, and so be out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And a lot of times we just end up going further.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Down a darker hallway. You know what I mean? In a hole. You know what I mean? But if nobody lets us know that, hey, you know, we don't have to do it that way. I think that's another thing with this renaissance, if you will, with counseling and therapy. You know what I mean? Is that people are hearing that it's okay to do it a different way.
Yeah. Wow. And yeah, and that's one of the things that I went through this thing where with my company where this guy was like, hey, yeah, we can get you this money, man. All right, great. 6 months, I'm waiting, you know, getting this money. And then at the last minute, let's hear it. This was going on till December. And we talked in December. He's like, oh, yeah, we're going to get it for you, right? All right, great. He's overseeing this money. Brother, saw what I was doing when 1921. January comes around. I follow back up. Hey, man, you just want to know how things are going. Then he's like, yeah, we're not going to give you anything.
Wow. Just like that, huh?
Yeah. I mean, just that cold.
Yeah.
He said that he goes, yeah, we're reviewing our investment strategies and we're not making any investments in the near future. Sorry, couldn't be more help. That was his email. Just that cold. And man, I didn't realize how much it affected me. You know, because, and I had a minister friend said, you know, you can't stay in your rut or your funk more than 24 hours. Deal with it, you got to go. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, and I remember that.
Now, what if that doesn't happen? This is kind of what we're talking about, like this, like this idea of like the stereotypes of these sometimes unrealistic standards or expectations that we have. That okay, all right, you got to keep it moving.
Yeah,
you got to recover fast. But wait a minute, what if my wounds ain't recovering like that? What if I ain't moving weight and I can regenerate my body parts?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And
sure.
And all that. Clearly, that was a significant impact. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And
major.
So what if that didn't turn around in 24 hours?
And it didn't. I mean, it didn't. It took one of my coworkers, who's an entrepreneur himself, who just said, I just got open with him, you know, and he said, hey, James, man, what do you need to do? Okay, what do you need to do? Because you got a lot going on with this, man. 1921 is going to change communities and lives. And he's like, take your time, but start digging out of it. You know what I mean? He didn't say you need to get out of it right now. It was like, you know, start digging your way out of it. Right. You know, and
there's something about hearing that I have some openness to be able to have a process.
Yeah.
I don't have to, you know, jump out the hole from the vertical. You know what I mean? If I gotta crawl my way up, step at a time, I can do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Let me make sure he plays this commercial. We have some callers, man. We got one guy who calls in. I mean, he's just mad. He's mad at the world.
Oh boy.
I mean, he'll call in. Jay will catch up. As a matter of fact, when I had
because Jay screens the calls, yeah.
Yeah. Well, he lets them through, but when as soon as we hear his voice, he's already on the button. Just in case he just goes. He can go to left field, man. We were talking about just different things, and we're talking about investments and things like that, generational wealth, all kinds of investments. And this dude called in, like, hello, sir, hey, yeah. And he starts off calm, then he just starts getting riled up, And then Jay will look at me like this, and I'll be like, because man,
that'll take the whole energy of the program.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy, man. I'd be like, wow. I mean, that's serious, man. Yeah. Now, Jay, do you live south, north?
Yeah, I'm in Hyde Park.
Hyde Park, okay. And man, yeah, this is good, man. I have a family friend. She developed an app. Her son was being bullied, and his son was being bullied, and he tried to commit suicide. Wow. And as a result, he didn't succeed, but he has now health issues, and she's been focused
as a result of the attempt.
Yeah. And so she's been incredible working on this app. She's out in Virginia, working on this app to get to young people. I mean, that when you're dealing with something, you feel like you're being bullied. It's a great idea. I'm going to have her on next month.
That's great. That's great. Yeah.
And
so the app addresses
certain things, and I got to get it
in the bullying category or
bullying all kinds.
Cool.
Yeah. I'm gonna have her on, and I'm gonna give her a call. I wonder if she responded back to my text. No, not yet. But yeah, man, this is some real stuff. Now, how do people so you meet with people? Obviously, they have insurance. That insurance pays for it and stuff like that. Yeah. How much is like a session or something?
Or the insurance carrier.
Insurance carrier.
Yeah. So one of the things that I do that may be a little bit different is, I don't set an amount and then say, okay, your insurance, my amount is $150 an hour, right?
Uh-huh.
But your insurance covers $60. All right, come on, up that other 90.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We're going to go with whatever your insurance covers.
Gotcha.
Now, unless it's just pretty low amount.
Yeah.
Then we'll have to negotiate something.
Sure.
But that's kind of one of the ways that I kind of help with accessibility. You know what I mean? Let's not overcharge.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? God's been wonderful. He's the greatest. He's blessed us so much. You know what I mean? I don't have to try to put people in debt.
Yeah.
When they are, again, being vulnerable enough to reach out for help.
Yeah.
Insurance, I see that part with the insurance, I'm taking what the insurance is going to cover.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, we have, a bit of a sliding scale for self-pay.
Sure.
You know what I mean? People need to pay out of pocket. You know what I mean? Take into account, financial factors and income and things like that. So,
and it's interesting because, like you said, if they don't have insurance, they're not even trying to. Yeah. Jay's playing another commercial.
So that's which is again is a little bit different than some other practices.
Sure.
You know what I mean? You ain't got no money to pay on no test. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Go down the street to a social service. And what the state of Illinois did, right? So you're familiar with the LLC, right?
Yeah.
So what's at the end of our name is the
P. Yeah.
The PLLC. Well, about 2 years ago, what the state of Illinois did was that they made a differentiation in the designation of LLC for counseling practices.
Wow.
And so what they did is just another way to get it. So they said, what we're going to do is that we're going to put you all types of businesses under the category of professional limited liability corporation.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Wow, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah. So you'll start to see that. You know, it's a little nuance. You might start to see that certain businesses might have this TLLC
Yeah.
designation as opposed to the
Interesting. I did not know that. Okay. Wow. Yeah. We have a great show tonight, folks. People on Facebook are listening, watching, listening, and watching. I think this is the last one. And if you have a commercial too, just shoot a.
Okay.
Like
I would. Yeah. I will. I don't, but I will.
Yeah, just record it on your iPhone or whatever. Send it to us. Actually, I'm helping a guy right now get his studio together, and we're gonna do all the recordings down there, and then we'll have it professionally done, and then we'll run them on here. So I love it. Yeah.
Now, what you didn't tell me is that you play all the yummies.
What'd you say?
You did not tell me that. You know, we come back on the air. If I got to bust out some bars in the system, you know what I'm saying?
Right, man. Oh man, this is my cut. Yeah, that was, man, that guy calling in about his gambling, man.
Yeah. I'm hoping that he got the number.
Yeah.
And heard about Gamblers Anonymous.
Yeah. And he's not even from Chicago. He's in another, I think he said he's in another city right now.
Yeah.
Because you can hear the show with iHeartMedia and everything all over.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah.
We had a guy call in from Boston once before, you know. And we were talking about, man, what were we talking about? I can't remember what we were talking about. But he was in Boston, man. I was like, wow, thank you.
Pick this up on iHeartRadio. That's awesome.
Yep.
That's awesome.
I'm going to go to question number 4. Now, you mentioned the word trauma.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to go into a description about trauma.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
So you want me to ask?
Yeah, you can definitely do
okay.
Yeah, and I'll set it up. I'll knock it down.
Don't disturb this. And this song, you can hear this song 20 years from now, which will make it. It came out in the 80s.
Yeah.
And it's still
30 years old at least. They probably did this in 86, 87.
Yeah.
And this was their only really big hit.
Yeah.
That's it.
I mean, they had the one song, You Were in My System. It sounded a little bit like this.
Yeah, right. But this was their one.
This was their one hit, yeah.
This was their one hit. And it can rock and play, you know. And you had played that Morris Day earlier. You know, he's doing his last tour.
Okay.
He'll be here in Chicago. He's going to be at the Horseshoe.
Okay.
August. And that's going to be his last time.
Really? He's done?
His last hurrah.
He made his money. Yeah, I saw him. I was at the Minority Business Development Council annual event, and The Time performed. So I got pictures with Jelly Bean, Monte Moyer. Yeah.
That's nice.
But I lived in Minnesota when Prince came out in '84, when Purple Rain came out.
Really?
Yeah, I was a sophomore in high school, freshman or sophomore in high school.
So it's so interesting that you bring that up. I was listening to some. I was on Twitch. Listening to one of the DJs I followed sometimes. And this gentleman found an interview of a 5th grade Prince.
Yes.
Being interviewed about a teacher strike that was happening in Minneapolis.
That's right.
And he was, talking about, hey, I think that and he sounded just like him.
Just like, yeah. I saw that too, man. I was like, what? Okay. We'll come back on in a minute. When the feels so real, don't disturb this groove. All right. Can you feel it? Uh-huh. Oh, come on, James.
Listen, I told you. You started playing it. I'm just going to have to get some bars.
Are you ready? Yes. Boom. Hang us. Woo! Don't disturb this groove. Man.
Still sound good after 30-some years.
I'm telling you. Jay, I may not have to do this song anymore, man, because I got to hear the whole thing, man. Don't disturb this groove. All right. WVO and family, I hope you're enjoying this little throwback. Woo! Says I need you, baby. I need you, baby. Do, 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 do. All right, all right. WVN, we're having fun up in the studio. I didn't even know my man can sing. Okay, my man's got that very vibe voice, but he can sound just like my boy from the system. Man, man. Okay, hey, we are back. We're talking about a very important issue here across the country. I mean, this isn't just regulated to the Black community, but we are the Black community, and that's why we're going to talk about it. But stress can be very, and is not even can be, is very, very dangerous. But and a lot of times stress is brought on by things like trauma. And off the air, James, we were talking, and you mentioned the word trauma even earlier, which has been an ongoing point of focus in social work, right, and mental health services. Describe the role of trauma and its connection with the greater need for increased awareness.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up about trauma. So, kind of follow this sort of trend and change. So, over the last 50 plus years, right, the research and the study of trauma has changed and evolved, right? So, for many, many decades, trauma was really focused upon our war veterans.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah,
so
right.
People that have experienced, the battles and, and all of everything that goes along with those sorts of experiences, which I couldn't imagine. Right?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And so a lot of times it would be focused on some single, like, traumatic event, right? So you go through this one thing that is life changing, if you will, a bit mind altering. You've experienced trauma. Okay. Well, here's how this particular topic has kind of evolved. So we've gone away from these singular kind of events, right? Post-traumatic stress disorder, things like that, or back in the day, shell shock, to now really focusing on things that are more chronic. Okay, and in particular, we're talking about like chronic toxic stress, right? And so these are these ongoing experiences, much of the time that occurs, unfortunately for many of us, in childhood. So the phrase has been called childhood chronic toxic stress.
Wow.
Okay, and so this is the experiences of the mental abuse, the physical abuse, emotional abuse, sexual abuse, right? And so and these things are, of course, unfortunately, been secrets in a lot of our families, a lot of our households for years and decades, right? And so no one talks about it. What happened to the cousin? What happened to the niece? What happened to the sister? What happened to the mother? What happened to the father or the son, etc. Right? And so even when these things get brought up, they're sometimes either denied by the individual that they're bringing it up to. They're not addressed at all, or in some ungodly experiences for some people, it's just beat out of them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Okay, so let's talk about toxic stress for a second. So let's just say that I was in a forest, right? And so I'm walking along this path, and right in front of me, I mean, out of nowhere, jumps this enormous, aggressively violent grizzly bear. I mean, and he looks like he is pissed, right? And he is coming towards me. Okay, so here's what happens with my body. Okay, my pituitary gland is going to start to send a signal to my adrenal gland. It's all parts of my brain here, right? Now, the adrenal gland is going to start to send messages for my body to start to produce a hormone known as cortisol. Okay, this is the stress hormone. Okay, this is that hormone that once it gets activated into our body, it's going to then dictate whether we fight, we engage in flight, and we run away, or perhaps out of the sheer anxiety, we freeze. Okay, now it is completely appropriate if I'm in a forest in front of a bear that's about to come towards me, for my body to start producing these huge amounts of cortisol so that I can get ready to get down run away,
Right.
or play dead. So,
Right.
But I'm about to do one of the three. Okay. So the question is, so that's appropriate in that sort of setting. But what happens when throughout most of your childhood, teen years, and maybe unfortunately even adulthood, your body is consistently producing all of this cortisol. Your pituitary gland, your adrenal gland is still sending your body, your mind, your emotions these messages that you're not safe, that there is danger all the time. Okay, that is what chronic toxic stress looks like. Okay, and so as the research and the study of trauma has been going on, and now more providers, more mental health counselors, therapists, psychologists, psychiatrists even are starting to now look at clients and help clients through the lens of being trauma informed and trauma focused. This is what we're talking about.
Yep.
Because we're now doing our best to try to account for what this sort of ongoing chronic stress has done to different areas of our lives. So there's three major areas where trauma can impact us. Okay. The first one is in the area of attachment. Now, this thing of attachment relates to the forming and the maintaining of healthy, trusting relationships. Think about that for a second.
Okay.
How many of us maybe experience challenges being able to trust other people? Trust family, friends, people in in relationships, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Working situations, et cetera. I don't trust nobody, man. Everybody, okay, have that whole perspective there.
Right.
Now, that unfortunately comes from the breaking and the breakdown of that primary relationship with parents. So picture it like this. Here I am. I'm a child. The very first relationship that I'm going to engage in that is supposed to be trusting, caring, and nurturing has got a lot of bad things in it.
Yeah.
It's got the emotional abuse, the mental abuse, sexual abuse. So, all of this other stuff going on. Or maybe it's not nurturing at all. Maybe it's not loving at all. Maybe it's absent. So maybe there's neglect there, right? You know what I mean?
Right.
And so now I carry that on through my childhood, through my teen years, through my adult years, having challenges with being able to navigate this thing for relationships with people. Okay, so that's one area. The second area deals with something that's called self-regulation. Okay, now this is our ability to manage emotions and feelings.
Wow.
Okay, now how many of us, we're going to talk about it here for a second. I just probably, we quick to pop off.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? And so what ends up happening with that is that the emotions become so high strung and so easily triggered, right? That now we just get used to it.
Wow.
So much so that now we formulate it as a part of our personality. And so what happens is, somebody's going to call on this one, I know. We mask it with, well, I'm just an intense person.
I knew you were about to say that, right?
I'm just really passionate. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And all of that may be true. I agree with you wholeheartedly. But what also is going on is that we're not able to really manage our emotional states. What Drake said, I'm going to 0 to 100 real quick. You know what I mean? And so that's what's happening with us. And what type of challenges does that bring on in our personal life or our professional life? This is the last area. It deals with something called competency. Now, competency relates to how we think and feel about ourselves, and in particular, how well do we kind of trust ourselves, or kind of really feel like that what I'm thinking or the direction I'm going in or how I'm processing this particular emotion related to situation is the accurate and the correct way. Well, when we experience toxic childhood trauma and stress over a period of years and years and years, what happens is we question all of that stuff.
Yeah.
We question ourselves. We question our own self-worth. Am I doing the right thing? Am I even thinking the right way? Am I feeling the right way? You know what I mean? So all of these areas kind of go into question. So when we're engaging in trauma treatment or trauma-focused, trauma-informed care, we are keeping all of these three areas in mind when we're working with the client. We're working on the relationship. We're addressing the self-regulation and the management of emotion. We're helping to rebuild the competency, the self-esteem, self-worth, self-image, feeling confident that you're bright and smart, you know what you're doing, you're making the right decisions for yourself. All those areas get broken when we experience trauma. Now, going back to mental health awareness, again, I got to be aware that I'm having some challenges in either one, 2, or 3 of these major areas here.
Yeah.
And I got to be vulnerable enough to be able to, work out, give it some help.
It's interesting. My wife's a teacher, and I heard this one guy say something. I added a little to it, and it said that we've got a lot of people, and these are kids too, who are. They said they're raised in chaos and triggered by peace.
Sure.
And I added, we've got children born into toxic environments, raised in utter chaos, right? Utter chaos and trauma, to the point now they're triggered by peace, meaning that they don't understand. If you walk by and my wife has told me, like, a little kid, was walking through the desk and he accidentally knocked the pencil off of another boy's desk, and that boy was ready to fight, ready to get it over a pencil falling. But this is because this is what this kid has been raised in, just trauma, toxic, right? Just mama going off on somebody for no reason. I'm going off on somebody for some reason. And now these are 7 and 8 year olds, you know what I mean, that are in elementary. Now, if that isn't dealt with, right? And now you got the poor teachers like, what is wrong with you, boy? It was a pencil. It was an accident. It wasn't no accident, and then and the kid who did it was like, what is wrong with you? Because as we know, everybody's raised differently. You could take a kid in a, peaceful home, no issues. You got a kid with bouncing from here to here to here because, mom may not have enough, daddy ain't there, mom trying to do what she can. She's working 2 and 3 jobs, trying to make things, a hustle here, hair on the side, all kind of things. But because she may not have dealt with particular things that she had to do, maybe she came through the exact same thing. Now you've got these kids that are dealing with what their parents were dealing with. And it's just in this, we got to take a quick break at 10:30. But I want to talk more about the trauma, like you were talking about, the things you just mentioned, the chaos and and the toxic environments. What are some ways, briefly here, what are some ways that we can, how do you not, clearly don't have children when you can't afford them, and then you don't, and you're in different situations where you can't provide that. But we're seeing these kids, as with 2 weeks ago when we just saw 13, 14, and 15-year-olds just thinking that it's just perfectly fine to run up and down the street and jump on cars and things like that.
Yeah. I don't know if there's any straight line answer to some of this stuff. And the reason why I'm throwing this out is because some of these instances and situations have just become so chaotic.
Yeah.
And so out there, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what I do know is that turning the blind eye and it is not right. Right. So what's the alternative? Well, the alternative is addressing it directly.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And you would think, of course, I grew up in a generation where you didn't have to tell me not to run downtown and jump on cars.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Okay. But we're in this particular generation, we're in this plane of existence where we need to tell these kids, listen, these are things that you don't do.
Yeah.
You cannot do that. Here's what's going to happen if you do. Here are the consequences that you're going to receive at home.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the consequences that you're going to receive out in the public.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the consequences that you're going to receive legally.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then let's be frank. Do we know where our children are?
Yeah.
I know you remember that commercial back in the day.
Yeah, I do.
It's 10 p.m. You know where your children are. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, how many of our families, keep enough close tabs on our preteens and our adolescents to kind of know where they're getting down, where they're going.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Or what's happening on social media that's got 100 people meeting up all in the same place at the same time.
Yeah.
What's going on with that? So again, there's no kind of easy, straightforward answer, but we got to be able to address it directly. We got to be able to engage in some type of intervention.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, consequences and things like that are going to have to be. It's got to be a part of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then again, we got to seek some outside help to start to work on the recovery and like the remedy. The remember, it's all starts with how we think.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if my thinking is skewed, Brother James, listen, man, I'm liable to be on anything. I'm going to tell you, anything sounds good.
Right, right.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because, again, my thinking is in such a place that it's going to lead me in all type of different directions.
Man, I appreciate that. We have a quick guest coming on. Selena Bellows will be doing our financial, and she killed it last week. She said, "I was itching. I got something to say." Selena, make sure you call in 773-591-1690. Go ahead and call in. James, we're going to let our financial person come on. She has a 10:30, and we're going to come right back. 773-591-1690, ladies and gentlemen. 773-591-1690. We're about to go to Selena, and we're going to cover our financial. She had some good stuff last week. If you're not getting an IUL, I've been seeing things on IULs. I saw something on Channel 5 about it on one of the shows. You better figure this out. So I'm going to bring Selena on real quick. There she is. What's up, Miss America?
Hey,
Miss America.
can you hear me good? Do I sound like I'm an echo or feedback?
There we go. No.
You said no?
Nope. You are on the air.
All right. How is everybody doing? I will be back in the studio next month, James. I'm finally set up. I'm done moving. I got my little office together. I'm ready. Still got my
Selena,
hat going on.
I see it. I like that.
Bettering lives on the
I like the
side.
pen. All right. I need to get a pen.
I got you. Next time I come in, I got you.
All right, great. All right. So, Selena, what are we talking about today?
All right. So I am so glad that this gentleman is on talking about mental health, because that actually leads directly into my segment, speaking on healthcare this week. So officially starting today, Bettering Lives with Bellows LLC, we are now offering health insurance options to individuals, families, and work groups 3 or more.
Wow.
Yes. So Aetna has finally allowed us brokers to be able to sell individual health insurance plans to individuals and families and work groups. So I am able to offer that in addition to the gap insurance that I was already offering through Aflac. Sure. So this is very important because a lot of people think mental health, you have to pay out of pocket. And that $150 the therapist is charging an hour, you're going to have to come out of pocket. And a lot of people are deterred away from signing up for therapy and counseling because they think that they have to pay out of pocket for it. You just need to find a counselor or a therapist within your network. And that also is included for people who are on public aid. I know this for a fact, especially with county care. Find a therapist within your network. If you are under county care and you have a zero deductible, you literally could be going to therapy for free.
Wow.
For free.
This is perfect. Oh my goodness. Go, girl. I'm sorry. I just got a little hype right there. I'm like, what we're talking about and the people who need it.
I everything in life it always aligns just how it's going to align. So that's why when I saw what was being talked about tonight, I'm like, oh yeah, this is a great segue into the health insurance. So as I was saying, if you currently right now, even if you are on public aid and if you have insurance through the government, you can get therapy. You can go to counseling again. So for example, county care, because I know that personally from when, during the pandemic, I had to sign up. When I was unemployed, I had to sign up for county care. And so I was going to my therapist at that time, transparent moment, for free. I didn't have a deductible at that time. And so definitely he was great, qualified, highly recommended. So all you have to do is go on County Care's website and go specifically under for the counseling section or I think it's psychotherapy, behavior therapy or something like that. Correct me if I'm wrong, but go onto their network and look to find a counselor within network so you don't have to come out of pocket for anything. Or you just pay your regular deductible, $30, $40. Invest into your mental health. And so health insurance is a necessity. And it is becoming more and more accessible to individuals, just like I said with Aetna. So specifically with Aetna, that's who I'm contracted with. They are only giving this out for brokers to do it for individuals in Cook County, Lake County, and McHenry County. So if you're in one of those 3 counties, call me 312-909-4968 and I can get you a quote. Go to my website starting tomorrow. I will have an option on there for you to book an appointment directly through the website. That is www.bellows, that's BELLOWS.life, LIFE. We have to get this insurance. We have to go to the doctor. We have to take care of ourselves. It is very, very important. And I understand that, everybody doesn't qualify for government assistance. You might make too much money, because I know for a fact that once you start making a certain amount, they will kick you off, or they start requiring you to have some type of deductible. I understand that. And so I know a lot of people like, I don't want to pay for it. But if you are a contract in a contract position, a small business owner, an entrepreneur, or working a job that is temporary, you need some type of health insurance. You might be making too much money to qualify for government assistance. You need some health insurance. So call us, text us, book an appointment online. We can get you a quote. And then again, we still have the gap insurance with Aflac, and gap insurance basically pays you. So healthcare pays the doctor, the hospital, the nurses. Gap insurance pays you. Basically, whatever you paid out of pocket for a visit, a service, anything out of pocket for a medical expense, they give it back to you based off what plan you have selected with them. So that's Aflac. So hit us up, Bettering Lives with Bellows, LLC. And let's get you all some quotes. Let's get this going.
WVON family, I want you to hear that. Okay, hear this again. We're literally talking about May or April being Stress Awareness Month. May is Mental Health Awareness Month. There are things going on in our community. Hold up. What's up, baby bro? My little baby brother's listening right now, Barry DJB. Listen, there are issues going on in our communities, and we know this. Okay, James mentioned earlier, vulnerability. Hey, let's drop the guard. First of all, let's acknowledge it. Let's drop the guard and let's get help. There's nothing wrong with it.
Yes.
Okay, there's nothing wrong with saying, I need help. I need to talk. Let me get it out. Let someone listen to you and then offer. I mean, listen, I'm very fortunate that, I can talk to my wife. I can talk to my friends. I can call my dad, and I remember I had a very crazy issue and I had to call my dad because I was about to lose it on this person. We'll just call him a person. Okay. I won't go, whatever. And I had to call my dad. I had to calm myself down and call my dad. Then of course my mom overheard it and I got about 20 scriptures in the email, my text message.
There you go.
What I'm saying? But I had someone to call.
Yeah.
The reason we have these issues is that people are going through something, and James mentioned the whole medical term of the pituitary and I thought he was speaking Spanish for a minute, and all these things that are being released. But if we don't have as right, I can call my brother. I can't call my baby brother because he'll be ready to fight. He'll be up here on the next plane ready to fight.
And
that's the baby.
Gives you the tools to properly get through things, how to feel those emotions, and then calm down, regroup, and revisit it. There's nothing wrong with venting to family and friends. I love all my family and friends. I know they have me to a T. However, all of them do not have the proper training.
And I was about to get there. I was about to get there. Right, I was just about to get there. You led me right to what I was about to say.
Might give you some of that sideways advice.
I know, right?
Yeah.
I know, right? That's my little brother. My little brother be like, all right, cool. My brother's like that little classic little video you see on TikTok. Which car we taking? You know what I mean? That's my brother, and I love him for that because that boy be like, which car we taking? Which is why, thank you, Selena, that sometimes and oftentimes and most times it is better to be able to get that professional help. And you may be thinking, I don't have the money, and you may not. But the fact that there is insurance out there right now that you can get, and she is one of our segment hosts.
Oh, and by the way, North Star Clinical Therapy, we do accept because we should have enough cancer insurance.
Oh, I love that. And we're going to say that when we get back on the air. Yeah.
North Star Clinical Therapy accepts Blue Cross Blue Shield, Aetna, and Cigna, also known as UNOR. Oh, excuse me, also United Behavioral Health. So the 4 major carriers we accept.
Yeah.
So you hear that, ladies and gentlemen? And we have someone literally, you can't even make this up, okay?
You can't make this up.
This was Selena's week, right? She's got third and fourth Thursday. This was literally her week. James comes on board. He's like, hey, man, I want to talk about this, all right? And I was like, hey, absolutely, let's do it. I didn't even know it was Stress Awareness Month. And here I want you to see how things have aligned up. This was not by accident.
No.
Not by we didn't set this up. This just happened, but it's not by accident because we know someone else is in control of all this.
Exactly.
When you get it's almost like, it's like, man, get it so that you can begin to change, because what we're seeing in our communities are people that I even say that's like, man, they're acting like grown 8-year-olds. They're acting like children.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, okay. Can you turn your laptop down?
Oh, sorry.
So what's happening is, that's okay. I didn't even know the engineer was like, you need to tell her to turn my laptop down. He's got this cool voice.
He keeps us together.
I thought it was like Morpheus.
I know, right? Me too. He's like, it was so cool. I can't even do it any justice. I messed it all the way up. But it's literally, we have adults out here acting like grown 8-year-olds because they're acting out the way a child would. Get the help. Yeah. The insurance is there. Selena, give them your number again.
312-909-4968. Bettering Lives of Bellows LLC is now offering health insurance through Aetna for individuals, families, and work groups. If you are an entrepreneur and you have 2 or more employees, you can be included as the owner within that work group. You all can get a group rate, or you all can do 3 individual sign up and just sign up you all yourselves and your families. Get this insurance, okay? Get this insurance to check out your body. Get this insurance to check out your mind. We have to do better. We have to.
Well, we may have to talk. We're definitely going to talk. We may have to get some people started, and then they take care of the rest. We may have to do that because listen, I'm so big on this because I'm seeing it in our community. We see it in all communities. There was an incident, James, where a guy went through a car wash, and he was known for not tipping, right? And so the guys who drive the car off knew it. Now, technically, they just should have did their job, drive the car off, whether you get a tip or not, right? So instead, the one guy, he knew it that he didn't tip, decided, no, we're not going to dry your car. They get into a heated argument, right? Over nothing. The driver of the car who just went through the car wash drives all the way home, gets his gun, drives all the way back.
Wow.
And then shoots and kills this guy because he wouldn't drive his car. And my thing is, you drove all the way home and nowhere did it say, bro, what are you doing?
Let's talk about that self-regulation.
Exactly.
Right? You know what I mean? Yeah. That inability to manage emotions. I mean, that I stayed at a extremely heightened level the entire drive. Yeah, there and back. Yes, went in my house, looked for my gun,
right?
Drove back. Yeah. I mean, the ability to not even say, whoa. I mean, I just had this. Now he's in jail for the rest of his life, and a guy who literally is supposed to drive cars is gone. Right. And I had this. I shared this at midweek service last night. This postal truck. I have the light is green. I'm going towards the intersection. He's making a right turn on red. Sees me coming, so I'm like, okay, maybe he's just going to go into the left lane because he sees me coming in the right lane. No, he does not do that. He just pulls right in front like you go. And so, oh man, I'm like, I'm honking the horn. He clearly could care less. All right, very immature of him. So what did I do? Well, I followed that thing. I took a picture of the number. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, I'm reporting him. I'm calling the U.S. Postal Service. And then I said, what are you doing? This guy could care less. I'm living rent free in his head right now.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm
Mhm.
saying? But a lot of people, like James said, they don't have that self-regulation.
Right.
They don't have that. But you can learn that, and you can get that by talking to a professional
Yes.
therapist. And the fact that there is literally insurance out there that they can sign up and get it,
Yes.
and then get the help that they need and get the help for their children as well.
And I'm going to repeat this one more time before we get off of here. If you have insurance through the government, public aid, public assistance, however you want to call it, Medicare, Medicaid, look up a therapist or a counselor within that network. I know for a fact County Care has therapists and counselors within their network. If you have a $0 deductible, you could literally be going to therapy and counseling for free. Even if it drops you later, whatever, just sit down for a month or 3 months. Get the help. Just get it. Do not let people scare you into thinking that you cannot afford therapy, counseling. Yes, you can.
Yeah.
Yes, you can.
I love it. Well, wow. I'm glad we got you on today.
All right.
Not today, today. Especially with what we're talking about with James. WVON Family, 773-591-1690. 773-591-1690. We're about to bring James right back on right now. Selena, please give them your phone number and website again, please. Or however they can get in touch with you.
Website is www.bellows.life. Book an appointment on there, right on there directly. Phone number 312-909-4968. Call or text, get your quotes. Even ask me questions. I also like answering questions. If I know the answer, I will tell you. If I do not, I will research and get back to you. So, you all, let's get this help. Let's take care of ourselves. Let's take care of each other. Peace and love and blessings to everybody.
Yeah, we may have you pop on next Thursday too. I want this to go.
Okay.
I mean, I didn't even know about. I mean, I have insurance. I have my whatever through my job, but I didn't even know that. So we may have you, Selena. I know you got third and fourth Friday, but this is such an important issue and topic. We may have you hop on next week for a few minutes and talk about it again. Okay.
Okay, that's perfectly fine.
Okay. Thanks, Selena.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye. All right, back in the studio with my man James. James Stevens is the CEO of North Star Clinical Therapy, PLLC. And, we talked about trauma on the other side here and that self-regulation. Would you say that, like I didn't need my parents, like you said, to tell me, you better not run your butt downtown and act a fool. Like my dad used to say, you better act like you got some sense. Even if you don't have it, you better act like you have some sense. Yeah. And yet we're not seeing that in some of our youth. Clearly, it's not all of them. Mm-hmm. For one, my son is a youth, right? And I have friends who are raising their kids, and their kids aren't, whatever. But clearly, there is a disconnect from that. Would you say that children, these teenagers, that many of them who were down there just simply didn't have, or was it more of a nothing's going to happen to me, or how? I know it's different. I'm asking you to do something to assess the situation just based on what we saw on TV. But what would you call that?
James, I really think it could be all of the above.
Okay.
I think that we are in a time and space and a place in society right now where literally you could just fill in the blank.
Wow. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
And you know what? And you wouldn't be wrong.
Wow.
You know what I mean? So whether it's I am invincible, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Impenetrable, nothing can happen to me. Or hey, I just want to goof around and be around the cool people. The cool people gonna be down here. Oh, they jumping on cars. And, you know what I mean? Yeah. Whether it's follow the leader, whether it's I'm looking to feel, some type of thrill. I'm thrill seeking. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like we can literally just fill in the blanks because everything really has been made visually attainable in our new world of social media. Right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we can just we can go on any app, we can go on anybody's page, we can follow anybody, and we can just see all kinds of stuff to see.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so what those things do is that it births ideas. And it births concepts. And sometimes those ideas and concepts aren't very healthy. You know what I'm saying? or even downright legal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but sometimes I try to identify why did this happen.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes may not be as important as providing some intervention or providing alternatives, because see, the why may have so many layers to it, or it may just be some downright simplistic. You know what I mean? And that's why it's kind of a tough thing to try to put your finger on, really.
773-591-1690. 773-591-1690. I'd love to hear from you, WVON family. What did you think of our young people? As we're talking about mental health and mental illness and stress, rather, and trauma, what did you think? What was going through your mind when you turned the TV on and you saw this? And then the adverse effect when you saw, a lot of the ministers go downtown the following weekend, and then there were no issues. My question is, where were y'all last week? Where were y'all the week before that? Where were y'all all summer? Okay, 1 week is great. But if we're seeing that this is what we're going to need, and you're a community leader, again, I still don't know what that means. Well, then you need to be down there. But WVO fam, I would like to know, what do you think about that, and what are some steps that can prevent that? Like James said, it may just be what are some preventative measures? Okay, now James, you may know this better than me. I know that they say that the character of a child, or the child's 4 or 5 or something like 6, their character is already being developed, and I'm messing that up. I didn't know if you had any insight on that, or the actual when a child has become, okay, this is who I am. And
well, so there's lots of theories on that, right?
Okay.
And so what we're talking about with this topic is, development, right? Okay, and so yeah, there are some studies that point to, well, this particular age, what gets formulated is, of course, conscious thought,
sure,
right, and now purposeful thought and things like that. And I think what you're probably relating to is kind of the formation of personality.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
You know what I mean? And this identification of kind of, this is who I am.
Yeah.
Well, here's one, I really think, fortunate thing. Whether that formation of personality is occurring at 4 to 5, or 7 to 12, or 15 to 18, one really great thing. I think this is maybe something just for all of us to remember. This development is a constant, ongoing process. See, here's what's cool about it. No matter whether I have genetics that have impacted things that I do or how I think, right? Whether I have a family environment, we talked about, constant stress, whether that has impacted me, whether the things that I've been exposed to and experienced that is now incorporated into my personal worldview, right? How I see the world around me, things like that. No matter what those things are, I have the ability to change. I have the ability to grow and develop. And I mean, even if we're, 60, 70, 80 years old, I know some people may, they may push back against that sort of theory about having the ability to change. But it's that ability to change that makes us so unique as human beings. You know what I mean? Just think if we were just stuck being whoever we were, however we were, or being stuck in whatever form of thought we had, that would be an awful existence.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? What if that kid at 12 years old that made bad choices coming up at 12 years old, if he was just stuck at wherever level he or she was at 12 years old, and that was going to be their plot, their life for the duration?
Wow.
Right? So development can always occur. We just got to be able to have these mechanisms in place. What's going to be the thing that's going to help us to spark change and development? If I get to a certain point where I get stuck, who's going to help unstick me?
Yeah.
What's going to be around me to allow me to be exposed to something different, to learn something new, to be able to be in a different environment, allow me to be like, wow, maybe I don't have to be rah-rah all the time. You kind of mentioned that, right?
Yeah.
The kid with the pencil. You know what I mean? And he ready to go to war with that pencil.
Yeah.
And the other kid is like,
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, the kid that's rah-rah, being able to understand, maybe I don't have to do that my whole life.
Yeah.
Maybe there's an alternative, right? So development can be ever changing and forming over time.
Yeah, one of our commenters said these teens imitated what they saw their parents do 2 years earlier with the mass looting. Those 11, 13-year-olds are now 14 to 16 of age now. And a lot of them did see that, right? And they did. I mean, I agree. I mean, I think some of those kids saw what was going on. Nothing happened. You know what I mean?
Think of the irony with that.
Yeah.
Right? So the irony is the youth, of course, are getting criticized for the behavior.
Sure.
As it should.
Mm-hmm.
But here's something on. How could this happen? What sort of example? Where did you guys get that from? Wait a minute. Big homie, you just got your flat screen plasma 2 years ago.
Right.
From you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, wait, no, mama had the wash and dry in the truck.
Yeah. Burberry bags and Chanel.
Like, you got your last pair of Gucci from the last looting experience.
Mm-hmm.
And so then when we see, the next generation do something that the previous generation did, it's almost like we get amnesia.
Yeah.
like, oh Lord, how could this have happened?
Right.
I just get it.
Right. And my dear friend, I love her to death, Cynthia. I really would love for you to call in if you can. Cynthia Langston, I love her to death, love her dearly. 2 incredible sons. She's an incredible person. Thank you for listening, Cynthia. I would love for you to call in if you'd like. Exactly. She said such an important conversation. Absolutely, Doc. And if you're able to, I'd love for you to call in. I'd love to get your thoughts because I understood to a degree what Mayor-elect Brandon was saying. But at the same time, I feel like, pointing out what people are doing is not necessarily demonizing them. It is recognizing and making sure that they understand, we see what you did and you have to understand that this is wrong. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Okay. I think that if you don't say anything and you don't do anything, then they don't learn anything. Well, no, I'm lying. They do learn. They learn we can do it again. All right.
So I think so accountability. Right?
Yeah, it does. Yeah. It really does. And so, but I feel like there's got to be, a better way. The key I always say is preventative, right? I tell everyone, and my children would think I was crazy all the time, but I'm more of a preventer. I look at things from a 360 degree, 30,000 feet up to figure out how can we do this without something happening, right? I personally believe, and I spoke on a panel earlier today, thank you to Carl West, TBT News, and Men Motivating Men Hood Tour. Part of what I believe that can change our communities is providing high-paying jobs for these parents. When you're making minimum wage on one job and then you're making minimum wage on another job, right? That's 2 jobs you're doing. And then you got to come home and help with homework, make dinner, sit down, discipline your, whatever. Something's going to give. They're not going to quit their job because they have to eat. They got to pay their rent. Kids need clothes and things like that. And so something's going to give. And oftentimes what I've seen working at CHA, what I've seen, and then even talking to friends who are family counselors and teachers, it's the kids that get, sadly, it's the kids that get left behind. They get dropped, if you will, right? It's the kids. And so it's like, look, I showed you how to wash your clothes. I showed you how to iron clothes, throw something in the microwave. Mommy got to go to work. And they're 8, right? You know what I'm saying? And they're 8 years old, and so left trying to raise themselves. And heaven forbid, there's like, 2 or 3. And now you got the 12-year-old, being mom, she's a little girl, you know what I mean? And trying to take over for her mother. And I've seen that, having worked in nonprofit, I've seen it so many times. But if we're able to come in and bring in some, yes, Cynthia, adequate resources, exactly. But if we're able to come in and tell that single mom, hey, we're bringing companies. This is what my company 1921 is about, and why I have this show and why I'm doing this, because we're going to bring these high-paying jobs to the communities. Now that single mom is making $55,000-$60,000 a year, she doesn't have to work 2 jobs, 3 jobs, right? Now they can get, as I shared when I was working at CHA, when I spoke earlier, a dining room table. Something as simple as we're eating together. How was your day? Homework is done. When I grew up, we had dinner, homework was done. You know what I mean? I mean, there was, and I knew and you know where your kids are because you have a dining room table. Something as simple as that. Okay. Jay, the engineer, just said, we got to take a break. We got to take a break. Top of the hour. We're going to come back. We got James Stevens, please, 773-591-1690. We're going to get into the mental health part of it after this and some tips. 773-591-1690. Stay tuned. Man, people are just, I appreciate the conversation about the multiple levels of accountability. Yes, Cynthia. I got to have you on my show, Cynthia. I really do. I really do. Man, people are getting into this, man. You're my longest guest.
Yeah, I had no idea we was going to do it like this.
I didn't either. It's just people
it just kind of organically flowed.
Yeah.
I thought 15-20 minutes of talk.
That's typically what it is.
Yeah.
It's like boom, 9, whatever.
Yeah.
And then Tori, who does my restaurant thing, he didn't come on, so he probably couldn't make it today, which is fine. He does a wonderful job. But I just didn't know people were calling. I didn't know people were. And then when Selena, I mean, it's technically her day, right?
Yeah.
Just Thursday and Friday, like kind of like when you and I talked about having a segment.
Yeah.
So just so happened to be her Friday, her Thursday, rather.
Thursday, yeah.
And to find out that there's insurance for people to get that, I'm going to have her on next month. We need to get people out here to know this. We have to learn how to thrive. Surviving is no longer sustainable. I agree, Jeff. I agree.
I didn't even get into having disability. Like, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
We probably even mentioned that. Because, there are people that need to hear that someone with a physical limitation, you know what I'm saying, is doing what I'm doing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's probably going to blow them away when they hear that. They're like, wait, this guy even hearing the last 2 hours is blind?
Right.
Yeah, that's what we're thinking about.
Oh, man.
Thinking how we introduce that. Because that would have been normally something I would have did in an introduction.
Cynthia, we're gonna talk about that right when we come back over the hour or out of the break. You are right, because she said youth need to be held accountable, but adults and social systems need to be held accountable as well. You can't just call youth out after the fact without having been there before. That is so true. That is, it's the same thing when you can't, for instance, and I'll share this on the other end. When I would take our youngest son, Connor, no, it's Cameron, when he was a child, when he was younger, I would take Cameron to Target. We'd go to the little toy, grab a little toy. Let's go. Grab a little toy. Let's go. He was conditioned to think every time we go to Target, I get something. So when we ran in, I was in a hurry and I ran back out and we didn't get a toy, fell out.
Right.
He had never done that before.
That's right.
So I'm looking crazy. People looking at me. And I'm like, I pick him up. Boy, what is your problem? I want a toy. Whatever. So I'm all the while I'm walking, and this is going to lead right into Cynthia's point. We get in the car and I put him in his car seat, kind of, whatever. I go, Cameron, what was all that about? I didn't get a toy. And I said, oh my goodness. I said, Cameron, that's Dad's fault. That's my fault. I said, so here's what we're going to do, okay? Going forward, after he calmed down, I apologized to him. I said, it's my fault. I said, going forward, when we go to Target, you have to ask Daddy, are we looking or buying? Okay? So if we're looking, what does that mean? That means we're just going to go look at them? Yep. And if we're buying, what does that mean? We're going to get something? I go, yep. Boom. To Cynthia's point, we can't just call these kids out, and there was nothing ever in place in the beginning.
We had no system.
We had no system in place
to indoctrinate them to. It was just, hey, this is what I learned.
Right.
And now you're saying I'm not getting it. Now I'm having this emotional reaction at it. You're saying this reaction is wrong too. You know what I mean? So I'm just wrong all across the board.
Yeah, and that doesn't help, right? But until and that's why I said, listen, I'll call them out because I'm trying to do something to make sure they're moving in the right direction, right? 1921 is designed for that. The money we're going to be putting into youth development programs, character development programs, right? Understanding these things. So I'll call you out because I'm doing something. Most of the people calling these kids out, they're not in the trenches. They're not doing anything for these youth. They're not helping formulate systems to help them do better. You know what I'm saying? And so I think, Cynthia, you are dead on. You are dead on. Oh, Cynthia, thank you so much. Oh my God, you try to get me to cry on the radio, girl. I love Cynthia. We've known each other for, oh my gosh, over 20 some years. Yeah, she's an incredible person. But she's dead on. She is dead on. If you're not putting systems in place, if you're not doing these things, then you can't say anything. To a degree, you can't say anything. And
or at the very least, your feedback should be limited.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Like you can't go in, you can't go hard. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Great comments here. Youth listen when they know it comes from the foundation of love. They have to feel the love. Absolutely, Cynthia. And these kids. I mean, think about it. If they're not getting that love at home, right? And again, I honestly believe it's because the mom or the dad or the mom and dad, they're trying to just make it happen. You know what I mean? And
the best conditions.
They're trying to make it happen.
Many times it's not that.
Right, exactly. Many times not. I mean, my wife's a teacher. She'll tell you some of these parents shouldn't be parents.
Are neglectful. All that stuff, right? Yeah.
Right, but but what happens when the mother or the father is trying to make it, right? The children end up being the part that gets dropped. Right, and that's just they're casualty of war. Yeah,
you think about it,
for lack of better. Yeah.
So if I'm barely surviving, you know what I mean? What do I have to fear?
Yeah.
I'm surviving. I'm barely getting by.
Yeah.
That's probably you probably hit that when we come back. You know what I'm saying? But they touch upon that point. You know what I mean? It's like, what do I have to give when I'm just hanging on by a thread?
Yeah.
No,
for real, like literally. And that's how a lot of them are feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'll be right back. Make sure you play the right song. I know the high part, man. If this keeps going, man, I'll just give you a ride home.
Well, you know what? I'm supposed to be meeting my girl down here.
Oh,
she wanted to do a celebratory drink somewhere.
Oh, okay.
Well,
we'll get you off here. We'll get you off here real quick.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
No rush about. I'm enjoying it. I thought I was going to be stuttering and this is all get out.
And we still haven't even gone through all your questions.
I was like, man, I didn't.
Hey, get ready, man. I mean, we talked about this. We talked about this. Yeah. Over the past decade, I have helped tens of thousands of fifth-time homeowners reduce their property glasses, but I don't feel like it. What's up, guys? I'm eating carrot cake from Sip and Savor. Some of the best carrot cakes I've ever had. Next to my brother Chris used to make, I'm pretty sure he still can, killer carrot cake. But this carrot cake right here, shout out to Sip and Savor. Hey, if you have some food you want me to shout out, this will live on to perpetuity. Somebody can look at this video 10 years later and be like, my carrot cake's still on TV. You got something? Hey, give me a call. I'll shout it out. Just bring it to me.
You gotta let them taste it first.
I know. Now I got to find a drink sponsor so I can drink before.
There we go. That's good stuff. Yeah, I see what area you grew up in.
Yeah.
And I got it. So we used to live in Minneapolis when my favorite group started doing their thing in 1990.
Nope.
Nope.
Yeah, we moved in 85 to Germany. So I saw the Purple Rain tour kick off. Man, that concert, man, started at 4. I think we got home at like 10 o'clock. Prince it was like he was on Energizer Bunny. Now I've seen Mint Condition a couple times.
Yeah.
They're from Minnesota. Well, you know that they're from Minnesota. And Sounds of Blackness. One of my friends was in the group Sounds of Blackness. Carrie.
Okay. Yeah.
I
forgot they was from Minnesota. I forgot about that.
Yep.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I adored Mint Condition so much. I almost got into a fist fight over them when I was in sophomore high school. Literally, right in the middle of algebra class, trigonometry or something.
Wow. That's crazy, man. That's funny. I'm sorry. I mean, they're one of the, when they came out as a band, because so I'm a musician, well, retired if you will. I used to do a lot of studio work, write songs.
Yeah.
I played piano, I used to teach piano. Actually, at one point I played piano, saxophone, drums. What else did I play? Keyboards. I played a lot of stuff because my dad used to say, once you figure out the piano, you can almost figure out the instrument.
That's what everybody says.
Yeah.
I dabbled with the piano. I always wrote songs.
Okay.
My songs. We actually perform as a community choir.
Okay.
And recorded and all that stuff. You know what I mean? And I always tell people, like, you know, if I had just enough money, I wouldn't do anything without music.
Wow.
That's all I would do.
Well, I tell you, man, if I could, my new house, I mean, we have a house now, but the house I'm buying in Dallas, I'm going to go back. I'm going to get a baby grand. Because I used to just sit down and that was therapy for me, just writing and playing.
I bet it was. Baby grand,
oh, yeah.
Great room, man. And,
Let me see if Cynthia can come on live. All right, you got your headphones. All right, WVON family, Facebook family, 1921 co-working and incubator family, Madrows, 1921 radio familia. All of the time. This is my draw. Slap me home. Do 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 do. All right. I had to give it back to Morris E. Day and the time. Morris E. Day. Everybody don't know about that. Morris E. Day and the time. All right. Hey, we're back. We're talking about a very, very important topic, and I'm very happy, very excited to have James Stevens in here, CEO of North Star Clinical Therapy, PLLC, in the studio live, providing this information, this knowledge. There are things that we have to work on in our community. There are things our youth are looking for us to do it. We are looking for it from each other. The world is looking for it. And a lot of it comes down. I mean, we can't just throw out the word mental illness, but then we don't do anything about it. We can't do, it's mental illness. Well, okay. What can we do? What can be done? and especially with our youth. I mean, they are. I mean, as much as it may sound cliche, the children are the future. And I would much rather have a say in the children right now if they're going to be leading me one day. Okay. If they're going to be leading me, I want to make sure I have a say. I'm trying to jump in, create some structure, create some whatever, so that by the time they're making decisions, well, I plan to be in a position where it doesn't matter who's in control, I'm going to be okay. But there's going to be a lot of people who will not be, and there are decisions made. Steve Harvey said this. He said, man, many of you guys, if you're still in the bed at 9, 10 o'clock, there are people on the East Coast and around the world who have been up, and financial decisions are being made that will have an impact on your life while you're still in the bed. And I was like, man, that's right. And so I anything that has to do with youth, I'm there. Again, I spoke earlier with the Men Motivating Men, the tour. Thank you again, Carl West, where I talked about the blueprint. What is the blueprint for your life? And we're going to talk about that hopefully, in May or June, before summer, and helping our young people really get a blueprint for their life, even if a blueprint for the summer, going back into school, but what is their blueprint? But right now, I want to get back to our topic as we kind of wrap this up. I've kept James here. This has been great. I mean, comments, phone calls, Selena coming on. I mean, all of it coming together. And I think you guys need to see how this perfect storm of what we're talking about came together and is coming together to the point where now you have someone like Selena, who's one of our hosts at 1921. She's also, full disclosure, she's one of our investors in 1921 as well. So she has a vested interest in making sure that our community is moving forward. I mean, she does, and I'm super excited about that. And the fact that she came on her week and we're talking about this, and that there is insurance that will cover the cost of you meeting and getting help and getting a chance to talk to someone. I mean, things just don't line up like that all the time. They don't. And I'm glad they did. So, James, we talked about trauma. We talked about this. We talked about a lot of things. Mental illness and mental health have for the longest time carried fairly negative connotations, right? And stigmas. And we've seen athletes recently coming out, right? Dealing with mental issues and mental wellness and mental health issues, right? Kevin Love talked about anxiety, played for the Cleveland Cavaliers, you know what I mean? And so forth and so forth. So we understand that stigma, right? We understand that. But what are some major factors that you believe contribute to this? And how do we, as a community, move beyond this and these stigmas?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. Part of this like movement forward goes back to what I was mentioning regarding trauma and the secrets of trauma, right? Where no one in the family talks about the uncle that has mental health issues that stays up in Big Mama's house up on the second floor. You know what I mean? Or the auntie that has always had challenges. And, well, every once in a while at the family reunion, you know what I'm saying? She gonna show herself.
Right.
Things like that, right? And so what ends up happening is that because there's all these secrets, nothing ever gets really exposed. If it can't get exposed, you can never deal with it, right? So one of the first defenses, if you will, about stigma is let's drop all the secrets. Let's drop all of the things that like keeps mental health issues as like some secret society or something. You know what I mean? Because all it does is continue to induce more fear. It causes individuals to have misperceptions and negative concepts about because if you really think about it, if somebody says, well, Brother James, my uncle is suffering with high blood pressure and diabetes and lupus. And then the same person said, well, you know what, Brother James, my uncle is suffering with schizophrenia, paranoid type, bipolar disorder, and addiction issues. You see, generally speaking, there's going to be a different experience that's going to happen from both of those descriptions, the medical and like the mental health. The first thing we got to do, we got to expose this stuff. We got to stop having the family secrets, because no one can get help
Right.
that sort of way, right? So what ends up happening, and I was going to kind of come back to this, is that the people that experience the abuse, they never get help because of the secrets,
Yeah.
right? So they carry that pain and that suffering and that victimization, right? So you never get to the point of being able to move from victim to survivor, right? You know what I mean? So they're not getting the help. And you know who else is not getting help? The people that inflicted the pain. Look at that, right? Because what we have come to know and understand is that hurt people do what, right?
Hurt people.
That's right. So these things that have gone on in our families, they didn't just start with the cousin, right? It goes back, unfortunately, generations and other generations. Okay, so we got that part about stopping the secrets. Let's uncover the stuff. Let's expose it. The other thing about stigmas, again, we're talking about how we think, right? So I think now this relates to two issues. One, it relates to something known as the ego. Ego relates to how I think and how I see myself. Okay, so kind of goes back to the vulnerability part, right? You know what I mean? Because if I'm not allowing myself to be thought of, or if I'm not thinking of myself in such a way that I need help, or that it's okay, even more so for me to get help, or that it is okay for me not to be okay and to have challenges and to have some concerns, to have problems, or have a crisis. Right? You know what I mean? So we have to kind of undo that. We have to kind of break down the ego first. And it's got to all start with us individually, where we say, you know what, I'm going to put down this ideology or this idea that I have to be Superman or Superwoman, or I have to be invincible, or I have to be, without mark or blemish, because that's not true.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I struggle, I have issues, things happen to me that have been outside of my control, and I've not always known how to cope with it, or I've had to survive things that have been just unimaginable, and I may not know all the coping skills and strategies. So again, ego relates to how we think and how we see ourselves. Now, there's another component, again, related to social media, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, whatever, TikTok. Now, this also relates to how are we perceiving how other people are thinking about us. Now, dig that for a second. It's one trip already for me to have to just deal with how I think about myself.
Right.
Now I have to think about how all of my Facebook friends and how all of my followers on YouTube and all my followers on IG, how are they perceiving? This all builds into the stigma. You know what I'm saying? Because now I gotta maybe try to live up to whatever imagery these other people think about me. Think that for a second. It just goes into so many layers there. You know what I mean? And now, what happens if how I think about myself and how the social media world thinks about me don't match?
Yeah.
So,
Oh
you know what I mean?
You did.
So
you're going.
So again, all of these things have to be addressed and broken down. Because remember, stigmas are nothing more than negative thoughts or concepts or perceptions that have not even been proven to be real or accurate.
Wow.
They're just created. And so just like they've been created, we can uncreate.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? We can destroy them. And that's and I believe, humbly believe, that that's one of the ways that we're going to have more of an acceptance of mental health services. Where now, when I give the story about the uncle or the aunt that has schizophrenia or bipolar disorder, they will have and be met with the same sort of empathy, the same sort of care, and the same sort of genuineness as if I said, well, you know what, this person has breast cancer, or this person has some other sort of very debilitating or maybe, life-altering, life-changing sort of disease or whatever.
Now, you said mental illness and mental health love. I know Jeff brought up a great point about can we start using the phrase mental fitness, and being fit mentally. Would you say that, because, mental illness gets thrown around a lot now, right? Oftentimes they're trying to use it to cover up bad character and someone breaking the law. Well, they saw the trend, right? Because I've seen people breaking the law. Well, he had a mental illness. I don't know if he had a mental illness. He was just immature. All right, there's a difference, right? I've seen people with mental illnesses, right? And sometimes there are people with mental illness and you couldn't tell. You wouldn't even know. All right. And then sometimes you just using that because you think that's going to help. But how could someone begin to use the word mental fitness? Like, how can that be used? And is that something used in the medical terminology, of breaking that stigma? So instead of, like you said, creating it, uncreating it, how can we use mental fitness as a way to mentally motivate us, if you will?
I'm kind of one of these firm believers, and I employ this in my counseling practice.
Mm-hmm.
You know what, James? Whatever language is going to fit your belly,
come on,
we're going to rock with it.
We're going to rock
Whatever you want to call it. If you want to call it mental fitness, if you want to call it fitness of the mental, if you want to, you know what I'm saying? If you want to call it jumping jacks for my mental, whatever we need to do,
right?
We need to be able to call it whatever we're going to call it so that we can start making change.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever feels comfortable. Understand, though, that a lot of times language evolves over time.
Sure.
Right? You know what I'm saying? So it wasn't always deemed as mental health.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It was mental disease for a while.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or before all of that, it was just all categorized under psychosis.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So, the further back we go, let's say maybe the darker the language gets. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I had this very interesting conversation. Shout out to my barber. Had a very interesting conversation with my barber regarding this aspect about language. When we talked about how Giannis very much felt offended with the question about whether or not there was
if you felt,
he felt, you know what I'm saying, and and he gave his description,
yeah,
but that was about language, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
and so language means something, and it has meaning and feeling behind it.
Yep.
So I'm a firm believer. Let's figure out whatever language we need to use.
I love that.
However we want to term it, how we want to phrase it, so that the stigmas get dropped, so that the help can be provided, the vulnerability can be there, the acceptability, acknowledgement, and now we can start to access the services that we need.
Wow, man. This is incredible. I'm just thinking back. I know Jeff, very good friend. We've known each other, man, 27. Wow. He says his doctor shared with him that you need to take care of yourself so that you don't become a burden on your family. Your family can give you money, but they cannot give you better health. And I think the same thing mentally. Sometimes, one of the things I remember as a kid, we were living in Germany. And in Germany, they have the AFN network, Armed Forces Network, one channel. And that one channel had almost all the shows from the States, right? And I remember watching an episode of Oprah, right? My mom's watching it. And this woman Oprah literally had a woman on the show who basically had a mental breakdown, if you will. I don't know. Had come to the conclusion somehow that she had lost herself. Meaning she was married, she was a wife, they had children, she was a mother, and that she always wanted to be a singer. And literally was like, left her family to pursue her singing career, right? And the husband was just dumbfounded. Wait, what? What's going on?
What happened?
Right. The kids like, what do you mean you're going to be a singer, Mom? What? Literally, I'm leaving.
Yeah.
Not like divorce, but like I'm leaving and I'm pursuing my whatever. Yeah. So of course everybody's like, woman, you are crazy. You have a whole family, you have whatever. And let me tell you something. That scared the heck out of me. I was 16. That's and because I was like, man, if I ever get married, I'm gonna tell my wife, look, hey, whatever you want to do, hey, let's make it happen, girl. Okay, I don't want you to what I mean? I'm 16. Okay,
jumping up one day and talking about
right. I want to be orthopedic surgeon. I'm gonna go to school for like the next 25 years. You know what I'm saying? That scared the heck out of me. I still remember that. I need to reach out to Oprah and tell her I remember that show. Because, and here's why I say that. Because, when you get married, you have two people, two separate characters, two separate personalities, two separate lives, two separate upbringings, and they're coming together, right? And I said, hey, listen, just so you know, I like to go to the movies by myself. It's nothing personal. I just like to go to the movies. For me, that's my own little therapy, right? I don't have to talk to anybody. I don't have to explain anything, right? I'm just there enjoying the whole show. If I fall asleep, I don't have to worry about somebody saying, wake up, right? I said, what do you like to do? You know, I almost felt like coming to America. What do you like, right? I know you like what I like, but what do you like? You know what I mean?
What do you like?
What do you like? You know, and so I'm like making sure that you don't ever feel like you can't do that, right? And so, and I think that mentally, when I was 16, 40 some years ago, whatever, almost 40 years, 30 years ago, stuck with me, right? And you know, to the point now, it's like, you know, like me, like I went to Disney. I went to Disney World. You know, my son goes to school in Florida, so we go to Disney World, right? I'm assuming they're excited to go to Disney World. They went when they were kids, so I pay all this money. We go in there, and we're in there 45 minutes, and like, when, how long are we gonna be here? I'm like, I just spent $700 and whatever dollars.
Yeah.
We're gonna be here till it.
We're gonna come into the close.
Right, exactly.
We hitting Magic Kingdom.
It's right.
We're gonna do this Islands of Adventure. We hitting everything.
We hitting everything. Star Wars. And so, but it hit me, right? I said, you know what, guys? This is on me. I should have asked you guys, right? And I said, you know what? We're going to be here about another 45 minutes. We'll get something to eat. I'm going to hit the Star Wars store, and then we're going to leave. And they were like, okay. And I said, and then I'm going to come back by myself. And so Connor was like, how, Dad? We're leaving tomorrow. I said, oh, no. I'm coming back down here by myself in about 2 months. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm not going to lose my mental ish, you know what I mean? Deal with y'all jokers, right?
Yeah.
Now, I took responsibility because I should have asked, right? So, I said, I'm coming down here by myself. My friend David, who's a Star Wars fan, you know, he says, oh, man, you should have took me. I understand you with your family. I said, hey, I'm coming back down here in November.
Probably have a great time with David.
Man, let me tell you something, man. It was a bros trip, Disney World, sun up to sundown. We got there when they opened. We left when they closed. The only time we were in the hotel was when we were knocked out. Got up, went back again. Our sister church is down there, so we went down there, hung out with my son a little bit, you know, and then came back. And I was like, for me, that's what I needed. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I feel like we need to be able, and I appreciate what Jeff shared, is that one of the ways of getting over the stigma is, first of all, recognizing that there is an issue here, right? And then, hey, what are some creative ways I can, like I shared earlier off the air, dig my way out of this? You know, obviously talk to someone professional, but what are some things that I can do that I like to do to move, you know, to move that?
I want to touch on something. That story you just shared about with, you know, with the kids in Disney World, you just kind of uncovered, without maybe even purposely doing it, you know, some of the major reasons why our couples and our marriages struggle. Okay, there's a sense of control that maybe somebody wants to have with the other person. You know what I'm saying? That sort of experience that one of the individuals in this partnership, in this relationship, this coupleship, whatever, is losing themselves, have lost their identity, has lost their dreams and their goals and the things that they've had aspirations for. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they've given them up, right, for this family or for this other person, and maybe against their will. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you hit upon something else about communicating what does the other people want. Like, what do you actually want?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I got this cold cut on my head. There's another good friend of mine. He's always saying this phrase: "Not everybody likes strawberry ice cream."
What?
Not everybody likes strawberry ice cream. You know what I mean?
Right.
So here you are with this assumption. I'm getting ice cream for everybody, right?
Yeah.
Everybody likes it. Like, no.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And as simple as that sounds, though, it speaks to that greater part about having that kind of open communication, being able to identify, well, you know what, maybe we are different, and we can accommodate for these differences. You know what I'm saying? Matter of fact, we can, and maybe God brought us together because we were different. I wouldn't want to be with nobody like you.
God, I mean, bro, I think, man, dude, if it was two of me, you know, I teach an entrepreneurship class, and we go over personality traits, right?
Yeah.
And I say these aren't in stone, obviously, and sometimes you're more than one, and blah blah blah. But man, James Parker cannot work with another James Parker. It won't work. We won't get anything done. We'll wait to the last minute for everything and then get on each other's nerves, bumping in each other, whatever,
Yeah.
But I love that strawberry ice cream. I'm using that. In today's topic, not everyone likes strawberry
There
ice
we
cream.
go. That's nice.
What, Mr. Parker? I know. Just go with me here. So we talked a little bit about the mental illness and mental health care and major factors that we contribute to it, and how do we as a community move beyond those. And I think I mean I feel like we have a lot of work to do, but I don't feel like it will take a long time. I feel like if we hit the trenches early, we recognize, like you said, okay, grandma, grandpa, auntie, uncle, are dealing with some things. How do we, as opposed to just sweeping it under the rug and not wanting to be embarrassed, how do we hit this head on? And I know we went over some things, but what are some practicals that people could do and use?
Yeah, I think having some open communication.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You had kind of talked about, kind of having that friend or having the brother, having your father, you know what I mean?
Right.
And no matter, even if there's been heavy experiences of trauma that have impacted the forming and maintaining of relationships, sometimes if we have the ability to identify just that one somebody, like who's that? Like, we have one person that we can feel like we can kind of go to, right? Drop the guards, increase the vulnerability, and just kind of be who we genuinely really are in front of that person.
Yeah.
Right? I think that's a big first step, right? And this is before you hit the counseling room. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Let's just have a support system. No man is an island. No woman is an island, right? You know what I'm saying? We need each other.
Yeah.
I think that's another premise to hold on to. That need, with a song by Hip Fire Walk, I need to survive. You know what I'm saying? I can't make it without you.
Right.
That sort of perspective. And so the other one is, with the type of, with the society that we're in now, information is just at our fingertips.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? There are so many resources out here for things in self-help. Like, you could literally Google any area of distress, and there's going to be probably millions of potential resources.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Whether it's a website, or whether it's a self-help book, or whether it's a strategy of some sort of, or a set of coping skills. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure.
So these are things that I can initiate on my own to just open up the door. See, the moment that I make a decision to say, hey, listen, I have acknowledged this, I'm going to allow myself to be vulnerable, and I'm going to reach out for some accessible services.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, I'm hitting the ground running now.
Yeah.
Okay. So now all of a sudden, I didn't really think I had a friend, or I didn't think I had a person I could communicate to. And now that door opens, right? Yeah. Here I am. I'm searching the web for whatever I'm searching the web for. And now I come across this really great book that really speaks to my exact sort of experience. You know what I'm saying? And now I'm able to use these other resources now to help supplement me. Maybe I get back connected under spiritual principles, and get back connected with the church. If that's what's suitable for me, you know what I mean?
Sure.
But what starts to happen is that my mind begins to open up. There's another thing that's remembered, man. God created us to be incredibly creative.
Mm-hmm.
When we are not bogged down with depression, stress, anxiety, and a whole bunch of other things that takes the creative spirit and those creative juices away from us, we can figure some stuff out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Even downright to finding resources, to be able to, engage in counseling and therapy. You know what I mean? So, but those are just some things that we can do on our own. We can also start to engage in better physical health practices.
Ooh.
Right? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Things like walking, exercising, eating right. You know what I mean? Going to the doctor. Let's, if we got to take the medicine for a period of time to figure some things out, eating more natural food. Like, there's so many things that we have available to us that will tangibly begin to help us feel better.
Wow. I mean, immediately too, in some cases.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Immediately. And I think COVID obviously had a lot to do with it. And I think living in a city like Chicago, the cold weather, although you can walk in the gym.
Yeah.
But I think one of the beautiful things, one of the things that I do, my wife and I do, are the 5Ks. Just get out and walk at your own pace, at whatever, and the therapy that comes with that. But I think you hit it on the head. Practicals until you get someone, until you meet with someone. Basic practicals. Who can I talk to?
Yeah.
Like Escape. Who can I run to?
There we go.
To get to whatever. I just messed that all up.
I had a client I worked with years ago, and I'll never forget this. He was diagnosed with bipolar 1 disorder, and would have lots of different symptoms, intense mood swings and highs and the lows, and it caused a lot of challenges in his personal life, with his family and his wife, and issues at work sometimes and things like that. Right? Had been on medication for many years, over a decade plus. Went through different doctors, psychiatrists, counselors, and by the time I began working with him, we started kind of to strip back some of the layers of some more practical stuff. And what we started to identify is that when this gentleman would engage in some intense physical exercise at the top part of his day, it would allow the release of enough endorphins to get him through the sort of emotional stabilization he needed to get through his day. Wow. It was incredible. Now, he had to really get it, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
But once he saw that happening, now, I'm still seeing the doctors, I'm still doing this, I may still be taking the medication, but here's something practically that I'm also engaging in that is literally helping my symptoms. You know what I mean? And so he found a lot of peace in that, and I wouldn't be surprised if that gentleman is still engaging in that same regimen to this day.
Oh, man. That's incredible. I know for me, when I work out, it's a different story. I mean, I know and sometimes when I did veg, and that was one of the things a lot of my friends were like, James, you are working, you've got a 9 to 5, you've got a family, you've got a radio show, you've got a tech startup, a nonprofit, and you know what I mean? And and sometimes I've got shows DVR. I just end up deleting them after 2 or 3 months because I never watched them. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
My kid's like, Dad, can you clear up the space here? Are you going to watch this movie or watch these shows? But I think, but one of the things I'm very, very happy that I have is that I can call my brothers. I can call my dad, my mom. You know what I mean? I have friends. I could talk to my wife. I could talk, and that pulls me through a lot of times. Just sometimes, I just need to get this out. I don't need a response. I don't need a solution. I'm just blah.
And see what you get a chance to experience, and not everybody does this.
Yeah.
Through venting or that open communication. Many do, but it doesn't always happen. But what it sounds like, have the experience to, or have the experience to be able to get to, is a point of release. Right? So here I am, I'm getting it out, and look at that, I'm tangibly feeling better. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There's a release there. You know what I mean? And that's powerful.
Yeah.
Right? You know what I mean? And when you can experience release just by getting it out, that is special because not everyone experiences that. For some, Brother James, when they get it out, it's almost like a boomerang.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It just kind of comes right back at them. You know what I mean? And so just going over the problem or the challenge of the situation doesn't bring that experience of release. There has to be some tangible pivoting.
Yeah.
We got to go in a different direction. We got to change something tangible.
Yeah. Before we close out, we have another caller. Hi, you are listening to the 1921 radio show. Go ahead, caller. Yes, sir. Right, I remember you now. That's right. Mm-hmm. 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 Yep. And so I think he hit on some things. Yeah, we do have to deal in reality, right? We have to deal with the reality of things that are around us and whatever. But at the same time, no one is saying we're creating this fake world, right? We're dealing with this in reality. When I'm talking to my friends about what's going on, or someone comes to me, hey, we're dealing in reality right here, right? We're like, hey, this is what's going on. And again, like I said, sometimes it is just great to just talk and get it out. But what happens, like you said, when some people don't have anyone to talk to? What happens when young people, and that's why I can't, I see these things going on. And I know it has a lot to do with parenting, and we don't know what the parents are going through. We know there are some parents, like I said, that really just aren't doing anything and shouldn't even be parents. But I don't know if there is something like this now, and I may just have to kind of create it where there's a number, whatever, where you can call and just talk, right? Here's what I'm going through. Everyone has a computer except me, and it's difficult. I'm in school, and I'm dealing with rich kids, and blah, blah, I don't know, whatever it is.
They have that stuff.
But they do. Okay, good.
It's some stuff out there. We have, like a team hotline.
Good. Okay,
you
good.
Know what I mean? Now, the catch of it is, do the adolescents or the kids or even the adults that need it, you didn't know about it. That's the question. You know what I mean? Everything that probably needs to be created in some sense, there's some remnant of it already going on.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
It's just, are the people that need it using it?
And the people, do they even know about it?
Do they even know about it? That's right.
Wow. Man, we're wrapping up here. We got a few more minutes, man. First of all, thank you, James, for coming on and talking about this very, very, very important topic. And thank you, WVON listeners, for your calls and your comments and Facebook family. Thank you so much. What's the long-term plan for North Star Clinical Therapy, PLLC?
Well, so one of the cool things that I talk about a lot. One of the cool things about coming through the pandemic is that it changed how we work.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So for years, I had office rental space. You know what I mean? And paying that and doing this thing and managing, office space and that sort of thing. And now to be able to do the same sort of work virtually. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so where we're going now with this is, we have, other clinicians that are being onboarded with the practice.
Mm-hmm.
We're doing right now massive recruiting for licensed clinical professionals either in social work or in counseling, as well as individuals that have their first level of licensure. You know what I'm saying? Give a call for Star Clinical Therapy, 877-944-2287, if you're looking to be a part of a vibrant and upward moving practice. Sky's the limit. But the other thing, James, that we're going to be doing is that as we start to move to more brick and mortar spaces, what we have the vision of is having these spaces, having these offices in 2, 3 in many major cities.
Oh, I love it.
So we're going to open up in the Midwest, and then we're going to go on down south a little bit and open up some offices. And we're going to go out west and open up some offices. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to just be these little centers. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. That people can go to and to be able to meet with their counselor or therapist in person and elbow to elbow, recap to recap if they need to. Just in case the virtual thing is not their cup of tea.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
And the satellite offices, but there'll be so many of them that we're going to be able to put a real dip into this issue about service accessibility. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the way to deal with it is let's just flood the market with places and spaces to be able to provide the healthcare folks need.
Wow. And off the air, you shared a couple things that many people who are probably listening and even watching online, like this is live streaming.
Mm-hmm.
You shared a lot of people may not even know.
Yeah, it's so funny. We were talking about this. I didn't even mention in the introduction. So, VON family and folks on Facebook and everybody else, guys, you are listening to someone who is completely blind.
Mm-hmm.
I have been without vision since 2009. I started experiencing visual related issues at about the age of 16 through retinal detachments. And so I lived at least about 20 years, 27 years with just a level of low vision. I've been without complete vision at all for about 13, 14 years now. You know what I mean? And I wanted to make sure that we had at least a couple of minutes to be able to bring that up because I believe, Brother James, that there's somebody listening
Mm-hmm.
that has some type of physical limitation or disability and maybe is thinking, what do I do now?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? How does my life look? You know what I mean? Or maybe there's somebody that doesn't have a physical limitation that still has that same kind of question or issue or kind of challenge there. And just again, like the North Star up in the sky, that beacon of light and hope. I hope that someone like myself in my physical condition can be that, that point of inspiration and motivation. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And look, whatever you got going on, you know what I'm saying? If, a blind guy that grew up on the south side of Chicago, went to Northern Illinois University and Loyola University, if he can do it, you can do it too.
Mm-hmm. Wow, I love that. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't even know you were completely blind. I didn't know that. I would never have guessed it. You walk around like, I'm sure I would have never known that until just today, just till I met you. I mean, we've met before. We've talked in my car and whatever, and full disclosure, Stephen is also one of mine. Stephen.
People do that all the time. They see the first name and last name. I'm like, hey, Steve. Yeah, I got
right. And I know you too. That's the crazy part. I'm like, I just got like going. You know what I mean? James is one of our stakeholders in 1921 and believes in our vision. And it's interesting because I until you just said that, I didn't even know you had said total vision loss for the past 13 years. I had no clue. I knew, I knew you had glasses. I saw your thing. I said, okay, I just thought you were partial because you could walk like when I first, when you got out of the car to the restaurant, I was like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Until we just talked in the studio. But I think you're right. I believe there's someone out there who's dealing with something and they may have made that into a mental issue as to why they can't do something.
Absolutely. Yeah. We talk ourselves in and out of so much stuff.
And you said that the most dangerous, I don't want to mess it up. You said the most dangerous conversations we have
are the ones that we have
with ourselves.
Yeah. You got to be really careful, audience, about these conversations that you just have all by yourself. Let somebody in on them. Let somebody else get some feedback and some insight. Okay? If we could figure it out all ourselves, then I don't think God would have created support and people around us and resources. So.
Yeah. That is so cool, man. Well, first of all, thank you, man. I'll be honest with you. Like we were saying off the air, I thought, okay, we'll be on between 9:45.
I thought I would be back at home to be able to catch the rest of the first round of the NFL draft.
Right.
Go Bears. We got our left tackle there.
Okay, good. Yeah, no. I didn't even catch it either, man. I spoke on a panel earlier today, man. Plus I had a couple coaching sessions for my job at the Urban League, and then came home, got some more work done, and then my son's like, Dad, can I stay till 8:00 because our school's having an open house, and I'm like, yeah, you can do that. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, did I just say yeah? Because I got to be at the radio show at 9:00. You know what I'm saying? And so I feel mentally exhausted. Like sometimes I have these mental lapses because I just keep going and going and going. And even on our vacation, we have this thing where when we go on vacation, we take a family trip every year. Hawaii, Bahamas, we're doing something this year. I can't bring my laptop. Like, no, I said, no, you cannot bring your laptop. Now, mind you, I have my phone, right? I'll jump up at 2:00 in the morning. I did that.
It's almost the same thing.
It almost that. But you said laptop. You didn't say I couldn't do anything, whatever.
That's right.
You know what I mean? But I've got to be intentional with taking these mental breaks. You know what I mean? And I'm not.
No, that's different. Intentionality with self-care.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's just so important. We got to take care of ourselves, or it's not going to be enough juice in us
Yeah.
to be able to do all the other stuff we want to do. You know what I mean? Or God forbid we won't be here because we have torn our bodies down.
Yeah. And that's what and coupled with the fact that, I haven't been working out. I mean, I've been going around the clock. You know what I'm saying? And Thursdays are my longest days. I gotta get a shout out to Morissetta and G-Main. Last week, I was knocked out. They came in. Typically, we talk and they do the entertainment segment, and they took over the whole entertainment segment. Man, I was the couch you were sitting. I was knocked out, man. I was knocked. I was like, I was gone, man. I was like, I didn't do it like today. I'll usually before the show, I'll get a good hour where I'm just not doing anything. I'm laying down, my body's mentally I'm relaxing, right? My mental, because I know I'm going to be up and I'm hyped and I'm ready to go for the show. And I did not do that last week. And we were planning for them to do it. They were going to be planning to do it anyway, having their own segment, kind of like what we did with Selena. Typically with Selena, she'll have her own segment, and I'm off the air. But just again, the way things aligned, it was just perfect. And but I have to be intentional and about that. And matter of fact, I shared that when I spoke that as a community, we have to be intentional.
We all do. And just remember that being intentional speaks to being conscious.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You have to be aware and awake to know.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, I'm doing this on purpose. It's not accident.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and it comes to great. Jeff says, great show, inspirational. He's like, good night, guys. Yeah, lucky for you, you can go to bed. I'm just kidding, Jeff. I still got to go home. but I think that intentionality, that being intentional in our community, that if you're in a position to do something and help, and I didn't even connect intentionality with consciousness, right? I did not, and I shared this earlier when I spoke about how we have to be intentional for our community, even if we don't live, even if we don't see these things, even if we see these kids and we shake our heads and we wring our fists, we still need to be intentional and be conscious of what we can do to change this, And I'm grateful that North Star Clinical Therapy, PLLC, is here, has been created, and is here for the community. I'm glad Selena came on and talked about the insurance, and now people can begin to meet with you and get this all out, get everything out. One of my favorite lines in a movie is one, Good Will Hunting, and Robin Williams. He's built this bond with the character Matt Damon, and they're talking, and Robin Williams is therapist, and he recognizes something, and he says, "Hey, it's not your fault," and Matt Damon's like, "What are you talking about?" And he just repeated it and he's like, I know. It's not, all right, don't turn into one of them. And you can see the defense just going up, and then it just broke. And that's because in the movie, I might go see that again, Robin Williams was intentional. He was conscious about this one more thing that this kid, we're having a little mini breakthrough, but there's something else there. And I think we as a Black community, as a community period, we need to be intentional about our youth. Again, we can't just shake our heads and wring our fists and gnash our teeth and just whatever. We have to be intentional. I'm grateful for James Stevens here being intentional and coming on the show and really saying there is help. It is in the community. It looks like you. It sounds like you. You know what I mean? Absolutely. It is you. And Selena coming on saying, now go see you, James. Now go see James, right? Go see him.
That's the best plug I could have got off.
All right, man, that was just perfect, bro. WM family, we are closing out another great show. Super excited. James, thank you very much. Lastly, can you give everybody the number again one more time and the way to get in touch with you?
Absolutely, guys. NorthstarClinicalTherapy.com. The phone number is 1-877-944-2287. Again, 1-877-944-2287. Follow us on Facebook, North Star Clinical Therapy, and we're also on Instagram at North Star Clinical Therapy.
I love it. Make sure you follow. WVM family, you guys have a great weekend. Have a great week. We will see you next week. And with that, I'm outie here. Man, bro, what a great show. Thank you, Facebook family. Thank you guys, man. We had a great show about mental stress, mental illness, mental health, and as Jeff called it, mental fitness. And as James said, whatever works. We're going to call it that. Whatever works. Thank you, Cynthia, for listening and your comments. I love you to death. Thank you, Jeff Hines. Thank you, Gary. Thank you, Barry. Who else is on here? Thank you, Morissetta. Thank you, Nia. Man, who else is on here? D-Roy, my man, D-Roy. Yo, D-Roy. Gary Daggett, my man. Tracy, thank you for listening. Selena, thank you. Sharma, thank you so much. Camilla Fuquay, thank you so much. What a cool last name, man. Fuquay, I love that. Fuquay is her last name. I love that. That's dope. Peace. Carolyn Bryant Diners Day. The white woman who accused